Seam heads. Our Giants game day coverage begins now.
It's the mosaic.
So before gloves start popping,
diving, he makes the catch,
and bats start cracking,
it is gone.
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin' Baseball. I hope you've enjoyed the All-Star break as we get ready to go back into baseball. Of course, one game played last night. The Rockies beat the Giants 7-3 in a game that epitomized a lot of things that I want to talk about today. But I hope you had a good break. And I know coming back after 4 or 5 days, it feels a little different when you have to come back and try to get the game going again, the show going again, and everything else. So the break does come at a good time, but you have to ramp it up again and start playing baseball. For the Giants last night, this is a critical time for them. And look, the guys covered it beautifully on the game last night, on the wrap last night of the games with the Rockies here. They've got 7 games coming up with the Rockies. They played one already, obviously, and lost it last night, 7-3. They've got the Dodgers in the middle of that, the Dodger team that is struggling now. If you look at them, they've lost 6, 7 out of 14, something like that. And luckily got a slam from Freddie Freeman last night in the 8th inning to turn a 1-0 deficit into a Dodger 4-1 win. So 4 games coming up with the Dodgers. Glasnow will be back on Wednesday. Robbie Ray will be back. Snell will be back. This is going to be quite a week. Believe me, quite a week of Giants baseball coming up. And then we come back next weekend with the Rockies again for 4 more, including the doubleheader next Saturday. So this is a critical time of year for the Giants to get it together with the trade deadline, of course, coming up. But last night the Rockies win at 7-3. They were down 3-0. Kyle Harrison has done something that no other pitcher had done, a visiting pitcher. 333 of them had been in this situation. He's the first one to go 12 consecutive scoreless innings at Coors Field. So he's got it down at Coors Field. He knows how to pitch there, and he was fabulous last night. Always has a little bit of traffic on the bases, but gets the big out when he needs it. And for the young kid, 5 innings last night, 1 hit, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. The pitch count got up late in that 5th inning, and that deprived him of a 6th inning, which actually became very important for the Giants last night. But a lot of crazy things happened last night in the game. But when you boil it down, to me, there were some things that I saw about the Giants that I think they have to deal with right away. And one is the bullpen. Let's face it, Robbie Ray's coming back. Snell is here, Hicks, and this and that. But this bullpen is exhausted. They have thrown the most bullpen innings in Major League Baseball, and it's not going to get much better. The pitchers that are coming back, other than Logan Webb, who will take you today, hopefully he'll give you 6, 7 solid innings. The other pitchers really are 5 innings, 6 innings, if you're lucky, kind of pitchers. And that bullpen is in trouble. And I saw it last night. The Giants are up 3-0, and Harrison had to come out of the game after the 5th inning as the pitch count was up at 93. And then Randy Rodriguez came in, who's pitched great, but he's a kid, and he's been pitching great all spring, summer, here we are, and he's still coming out there. Well, he came in the 6th inning, and he was the victim of kind of the phantom hitting a batter of Diaz. Was he hit? Wasn't he hit? I don't know what happened. I couldn't tell from the replay. To me, it looked like he was not hit. Well, he goes to first base, and next thing you know, 2-run homer from Doyle, who just crushed it. And part of what I'm going to say today and why I think the bullpen is really exhausted and they've got to do something about it now. I would not wait 2 weeks to do something about it, or 12 days or 10 days and say, boy, I think we better do something. These games you have to win. These are games that you should win. You're 12 games ahead of the Rockies in the standings, and you should beat them. They're a little better at home than they are on the road. We know that. But this is still a team you should win games against. So if there's problems in the bullpen, it's got to be dealt with now. That's my opinion. So Rodriguez gives up a home run to Doyle, and he hit it. He just hit the heck out of it. It was gone, but the pitch was right over the plate, and that made it 3-2 at that point. Now, for me, the big guy last night, a couple of things. One is Soler. And I've brought this up a number of times on the show, and I'll get into it a little bit today with Evan Webeck as well. He's going to join us from Colorado, covers the Giants. Soler loves hitting in the number one spot. I've said it to Farhan. I've said it on the show. I've asked everyone in the world, why? Why is this guy hitting in a leadoff spot? Well, he told Bob Melvin he likes it. It's comfortable. I'm sorry, Jorge. You were signed to hit home runs. You were signed to drive in runs. You got 3 years. You got $45 million. If you are uncomfortable hitting fourth or fifth, that's too bad. You're going to have to do it. You need to have him in the middle of the lineup. This thing in the top of the lineup, and he's striking out like crazy now. He did hit the ball hard in June. He did. A lot of top spin, and he had some very hard hit balls at people. But this is a guy, you have to have him in the middle of the lineup to drive in runs. You cannot rely on Michael Conforto to be your guy to drive in runs, or Patrick Bailey to be your guy to drive in runs. Bailey's a very good hitter. He can put the ball in play, which he does quite often. He drives in some key runs with 2 out, but he loves to take a walk. If he gets a 3-1 count and the ball is a millimeter outside, he's running the first base when he should be swinging and driving in a run. That's what a cleanup hitter does. So Soler should be in that position. Conforto last night made a great catch, a fabulous catch, really, in left field, and saved real trouble when he made that catch in left field with a runner on. However, at the plate, comes up in the second inning, second and third. Run is now scored. The Giants have got their third run, and he pops up to the third baseman. But the big one for me was in the seventh inning, and it was a 3-2 game there. And the Giants could have broken it open with the bases loaded and 2 out. Conforto is up, and Buddy Black, you got a feel for him, what he's got for a pitching staff. He brings in Clarence Beeks, who doesn't throw hard, doesn't have great command, and Conforto takes a third strike with the bases loaded, and the Giants are out of the inning. And then, of course, things happen after that when Walker comes into the seventh inning. But my point is, Conforto is a nice player. I think he's got to stand up. I've said this last week. I said it to Farhan. Conforto's being paid a lot of money, $18 million this year. He's got an option, I'm sure, for next year. He has got to come through. He's got to swing the bat. How he took a third strike, and it was a little high, but he took a third strike, and this is a veteran hitter, a major league hitter. He's been in a World Series. You cannot do that. So part of this loss last night was on Conforto, that he couldn't come through. But the real thing is the bullpen. And in the seventh inning, Ryan Walker comes in. It's 3-2 at that point, and we know the method that Bob Melvin likes to use. Ryan Walker comes in. Well, the guy is exhausted. Lefties are getting good swings against him because that ball is coming into lefties. Now, knowing that where you bring him in the order, Bud Black is going to pinch hit with lefties. And this Jake Cave is the first lefty, and he comes in and he faces Walker, and he smacks a double to left field. He gets Hilliard on the fly to left, the great catch by Conforto, strikes out Blackman, and then the baseball gods get to Chapman, a ground ball. He cuts it off sort of around shortstop. He's made this play a million times. The throw is always perfect. He trips, and the arm is up, as I'm doing on the stream. It's not in the right position. Wade can't handle the hop, and the run scores. Now it's 3-3. Walker then walks a couple, and luckily gets Doyle to end the inning on a fielder's choice to Chapman. If he didn't go to third and tag the bag, that would have been a tough play too. So Walker gives it up, and you can't have that. So now it's 3-3. They go into the eighth inning, and here comes Tyler Rogers, which is exactly what Bob Melvin loves to do in the eighth inning. Well, he's got the ball that's up as well. Base hit to Rogers. Tolia hits a double Now it's second and third. And here comes Cave again, and he gives a tough at bat. He's a lefty against Rogers, the righty. And Cave just got a pitch right over the plate. I mean, just you couldn't ask for it in a better spot. In the old 1880s, part of baseball, they used to say, I want the pitch in a certain location. And if it didn't come in that location, it was a ball. That's the hitters had the advantage. Well, it was like Cave said to Rogers, would you please put it right here? And he did, and Cave didn't miss it, and he just crushed it. A big 3-run shot, and Rogers was basically done after that point. They brought Luke Jackson in, and he gives up a home run to Tovar. And Luke Jackson probably has seen better days, and maybe what I'm going to suggest probably affects him as well. So my point is this. They were lucky to win last week. The Toronto bullpen fell apart on Monday, and they got that win. They got the little league home run from Yastrzemski on Sunday to get that win after Duvall blew the save. This bullpen needs some help, and they need it from Jordan Hicks. And Hicks is supposed to start tomorrow. I wouldn't start him tomorrow. I would put him in the bullpen right now. They need a shot of adrenaline in this bullpen. And if they're going to make a move in this wild card race, which they can, it's incredible. There's so much time to go. It's ridiculous. 64 more games to go, and they're 2 or 3 games back in the loss column. You do that in a week. But you have to act now. I wouldn't wait. I think Hicks should go to the bullpen and give you that right-handed guy in the bullpen. And I think Jackson has seen his best day, and I would try to move him, and I would make my trade for an extra bullpen guy now. And you can't rely on Randy Rodriguez. He's a kid, and you've got him in a real tough situation in the 6th inning. And I think that's what's got to happen. And if Walker's going to face lefties, I think you got to bring in Eric Miller or the other Rogers to do it, and just understand that Walker's having trouble there. These guys are tired, and that's what I see. Matos is another one. I think he's overwhelmed here in the National League. I'm not sure if he'll play today against the lefties or Yastrzemski will play. I would still play Yastrzemski, believe me, before I'd put Matos in there. So what? Matos will play and hit 2 homers today. But he looks overwhelmed, and if they're going to make a move for a right-handed hitter, I would make it now. So my point is, don't wait. These are games you have to win. They need some help in the bullpen. Don't let this thing spiral out of control. So that's my speech for today. They've got a tough game today. Logan Webb is going to pitch today. Logan, and I'll talk more about it on the show, but he's their guy. 7-7 on the year, 347 earned run average. Not thrilled with the All-Star game, where he gave up a couple of hits and a walk and 3 runs. And I know they joked about it on the rap last night that he said, 7.5 million people saw me and I better do better. And part of that is true. You know, he did get embarrassed a little bit, and I think he'll come out today. He's a competitor, and he will give him a good game today. On the other side is Kyle Freeland. We've seen him a million times for the Rockies. The Giants have generally hit him in the past. He's gotten better. Forget about his stats. His last 4 games, and this is a lefty going against the Giants today, but his last 4 games, he has really pitched well. 18 innings, 14 hits, 3 runs, no homers, 4 walks, and 11 strikeouts. So what he did earlier in the year with a whip of 162 and an earned run average of 6 has been different lately, and he has pitched well. The numbers I gave you, those were at home. Those are the numbers he had at home. His last 4 games, 26 innings, 23 hits, 5 runs in 26 innings, 2 homers, 5 walks, and 21 strikeouts. That's his last 4. So his home, 18 innings, 14 hits, 3 runs, no homers, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts. So he has pitched better at Coors. So normally, Kyle Freeland, you can whack him around pretty good, but lately he's pitched better. So the Giants have got their hands full today, and they've got to make something happen. These are games they've got to win. So that's my thought. Harrison was great. I think there's a lot going on with the Giants and good things in their future, but they've got to make some moves. They've got to make some moves, and I think that's what's got to happen. All right. Evan Webeck is going to join us. We're going to talk some of the things that I said today. Good crowd last night, 40,000, 115 last night, 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 homers for the Rockies, none for the Giants, 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position, And Conforto was the one that really bugged me last night, taking that third strike in that seventh inning. Should not happen. Should not happen. He's got to do better than that. All right, more coming up. We've got a good day for you today. We've got baseball tomorrow, 8 o'clock for us in the morning tomorrow. Then it's the Dodgers. And as I say, this is a great time of year. The Giants are close to making this thing happen. And I still think they will. I truly think they will. But it's time now to make some adjustments. Do not wait. And that's my point today. All right, Evan Webeck next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Fans, great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball here. Game 2 between the Giants and the Rockies coming up from Coors Field. Well, joining us, Evan Webeck. We love having him on. He covers the Giants for the San Jose Mercury News and the Bay Area News Group. Evan, how are you?
Hey, Marty, happy to be here. Just trying to stay cool in Denver, man. It's been hot this week.
When did you get there? Of course, we just had the break, and of course now we're all getting back into action again. When did you get there?
Yeah, luckily flew in a day early, so I avoided all that crazy outage with the flights getting in. And, as far as I know, there were some teams in baseball that actually had players who were caught up in that, where all the flights were canceled, and there was some question about them getting to the ballpark. All the Giants here got here on time, of course, although I was talking to a few guys, and, they were saying, yeah, we had our flights delayed. We might have gotten caught up in that, but everybody was here on time and ready to start the second half. And, me personally, I got in, probably 36 hours before, kind of made the most of the All-Star break and got out to Red Rocks for the first time. I saw a band called Dr. Dog there on the night before, the second half started. So we're off to a good start here in the second half, Marty.
Well, we love your reports. You know that from the different cities when you get there. So how's the food in Colorado? What about that?
Pretty good, man. I think I've had bison twice already. A little
Come
bit
on.
of
Bison?
Little green chili, salsa chili verde, smothered in a burrito. the true Colorado fare.
All right, I love it. All right, Evan Webeck with us. Ev, last night, you watch enough baseball as I have over my lifetime. You see crazy things happen that you just never expect. And I saw one last night with the umpire getting in the way of a ball hit by Brett Wisely. Take us through that. It was really one of the more spectacular moments.
Well, in the press box, I looked to my left and looked to my right. And I think all three of us had the same reaction. We had our hands on our heads, and we just couldn't believe what just happened. Because, not only the ball ricochets off first, and you're thinking, okay, well, that's a fair ball. That's going down the corner. That's probably going to score 2. It's going to be a 5-0 ball game, and the Giants are in control. And then it ricochets into the umpire, so you're thinking, okay, well, maybe it's not going to be 2 runs, and it's going to be, maybe not extra bases, but okay, that's a bad hop. And then it ricochets into the first baseman. And then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe, Wisely's got wheels, right? Maybe he can beat this out. And then the first baseman made a heck of a play there, too, to beat Wisely to the bag. And, gosh, I mean, we talked to Wisely after the game there, and he said basically the only thing he could do was let out a slight chuckle because he said, of course, if something like this was going to happen, it was going to happen to me. But he did, we asked, hey, what do you think, how did that impact the game, the momentum? It probably would have put him up 5-0 and been a pretty solid lead behind. I mean, Kyle Harrison was pitching fantastic last night, ran up his pitch count a little bit, but throwing up zeros at Coors is not something to be discounted. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the turning point in the game. That and when Jake Cave was substituted as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning, and then proceeded to hit a double score run, and then launched a 3-run home run off Tyler Rogers in the 8th. So that's a heck of a 2 at bats for a guy who only entered the game in the 7th inning. But not a great start to the second half of the Giants. I'm sure they would have liked to capitalize not only on a great start from Kyle Harrison, but they've got 7 games here against the Rockies. Before the trade deadline, and another 2 against the A's. And, these are teams that if they're going to make a push for the postseason, they really need to capitalize on these games, and it's not off to a great start after 1.
No, the Giants lose last night, 7-3, had a 3-0 lead, and as Evan just explained, it could have expanded, but the umpire got in the way, a crazy play, and that was the end of that inning. I do want to talk about Kyle Harrison because Sarah Langs, who does a great job, put out a stat last night. I'm sure all you guys saw it. There have been 333 pitchers who've pitched at Coors Field, visiting pitchers. He's the first to come in and throw 2 shutout in a row, 12 innings of shutout ball, and that's a pretty incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, I didn't see that stat because I'm off of Twitter now, and it has reduced the information that I'm seeing. But it doesn't surprise me. I looked up something similar, and it's funny. It seems like we're always racing with the PR department and Sarah Langs to see who's going to find out something first. But I was just trying to see who was the last Giants starter to toss 5 shutout innings at Coors Field, and it turns out it was Kyle Harrison in May, going 7 shutout. And there's only been, I think, dating back to 2016, the 4 games where a Giants pitcher has gone 5 or more shutout innings, and Harrison's done it twice now. So we had to ask him after the game, like, are you the one guy who likes pitching here at Coors Field? And he wasn't necessarily thrilled about pitching at altitude, but he did say, because of his experience in the PCL last year at AAA, they play in places like Reno, like Las Vegas, that aren't quite mile high. Actually, I'm not sure Reno might be a little bit higher. But he's got experience pitching at altitude, and what you often hear pitchers say when they come to Coors is not necessarily the fact that the ball travels further in the thin air. They've got some things in place to mitigate that, but it's how the ball moves out of their hands, and the movement on their pitches, and it often takes some adjusting to see how that changeup's going to move, or is the sinker going to have that sink on it, or is it going to be a little too straight? So Kyle said that he really had some experience, seeing how his stuff plays at altitude, and it seems like that's given him a bit of an upper hand here, and at least in his first 2 starts.
Well, I think it's terrific. I mean, 333 pitchers have come in to try to do what he did, and he's the first to do it. And I think it's really incredible. So I'm glad that we can highlight him a little bit. Ev, in the Open today, I have some strong opinions about the Giants. Look, this is game 98. We've seen game 99 is today. This is a ball club that's got trouble, and they still are not at 500. And I'm going to start with Soler. And I've asked this question 50 times when I was up at the Bay Area last week, and that is, why is he leading off? And the answer I get, and I got it from Farhan as well, is that he likes it. And he told Bob Melvin he likes to do this. Well, it's time to tell him, we don't care if you like it. We signed you to be a number 4, number 5 hitter, hit 25 to 30 home runs. It's time you have to do it. And you better get into this lineup and make it happen. I think he's got to get out of the leadoff spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately you need a better middle-of-the-order presence, I think. Like Wisely in the 9-hole has actually provided some nice depth to the lineup. It's all like, it almost gives them a second leadoff hitter when they're turning the lineup over with how productive he's been. But in the middle of the order, if you're running out, and these guys, they're good players, very good players, and some of the most valuable players on the team and in the league and at their positions, but not necessarily because of what they do at the bat. But you're seeing Matt Chapman, Patrick Bailey, and even, like a Michael Conforto. These are your 3, 4, 5 hitters. And you compare that to, the hearts of the orders of some of these contenders that, the Giants are chasing, and it really just doesn't compare. A really long lineup is going to have a guy like Soler in the cleanup hole, and that's going to slide Chapman down to 5 or 6, and Bailey in 6 or 7, and that really gives you the length of the lineup that you can kind of turn it over. So yeah, I think you're right, Marty. The Soler signing is probably not gone how they intended. I remember when he came into spring training, he was wearing that gold cross earring on his right ear, and we were all like, man, you're sure channeling Barry Bonds, it seems. And obviously Barry was the last guy to hit 30 home runs for the Giants way back in 2004, 20 years ago. And we were all like, hey, I mean, if anybody's going to break that streak, it's going to be Jorge Soler. And it's not been the case so far this season. And it's been weird with him, man. There are some at-bats where he looks totally lost. and it seems like there's some confidence issues at play, maybe pressing a little bit, especially with runners in scoring position. But he had started to turn it around a little bit in kind of those more clutch situations and scoring opportunities over the last month or so. But yeah, I mean, he's really been a victim of bad luck. You know, he hits the ball hard and seems to go right at people or right to the warning track. And, you know, it's certainly not the guy, you know, you don't have warning track power associated with a guy like Jorge Soler. But it does seem to be the case where, you know, there's just been an inch or two left or right or, you know, a little bit further, and he'd be looking at a much different season. But, yeah, it has not played out that way, and the Giants lineup has, you know, been harmed because of it.
Nope, they need him. They need him in the middle of the order, and I don't care whether he likes it or not. That's where he's got to be, and he was signed a 3-year deal to do that with a lot of money. So that's number one. Number two, I think that Jordan Hicks is scheduled to go tomorrow. By the way, the Giants do see 2 lefties today and tomorrow, so maybe Soler will get loose there. But Hicks is supposed to go Sunday. I'd take him out right now, and I'd put him in the bullpen right now. I've watched Ryan Walker. I've watched Tyler Rogers pitch. I've watched Duvall pitch. This bullpen needs a powerful right-handed reliever now. And I'll say it to you, and I said it on the show, these games, and you've said it, these games are critical. You have to win these games. And if this bullpen is tired, and they're still going to be tired because of what's coming. I don't care how many Robbie Rays you bring in or Snells you bring in or Cobbs you bring in. These guys are not going 7 or 8 innings, and that bullpen is exhausted. I say this, get Hicks out of that rotation tomorrow, put Birdsong in, and move Hicks into that right-handed relief right now. What do you think?
Yeah, Marty, well, I reported a story that published this morning, and I can say that is the plan. Maybe not as immediately as you're suggesting, but yeah, Jordan Hicks will be making only maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more starts here for the Giants, and then they are going to transition him back into a relief role for the remainder of the season. What that is going to look like, still to be determined. But I talked to Jordan and Bob Melvin yesterday, and basically confirmed with them that, yes, they are having these conversations about what this is going to look like here over the next week to 3 weeks as they get Robbie and Alex back into the rotation. It sounds like maybe the most likely scenario right now is when they do get Ray and Cobb back, which is expected to be by the end of the month or so for both of them. Ray threw 5 strong innings in what we think is his last rehab outing last night. And Cobb not far behind him. But when those guys return, it sounds like, when they're on, maybe a little bit of an innings restriction coming in, they could throw Ray and start him and then bring in Hicks after him. And then you have Hicks for maybe, give him 2 or 3 or 4 innings, a little bit shorter bursts. And then you're kind of allowing not only easing, these veterans coming off of surgery back into the rotation and, building up their workload, you're kind of easing Hicks back into the bullpen and kind of bringing his workload down. And, we've seen it's been quite, he's acknowledged this. We've seen it. He's definitely feeling the effects of the toll of the workload of being a full-time starting pitcher for the first time in his major league career. The results haven't necessarily been there for the last, maybe 2 months or so, not like they were over the first month when he was just lights out and electric. And, all you have to do is, you're not satisfied with the box scores, look at the radar gun. And, the fastball that was once so fast, prodigious, hitting 103, 104, 105 out of the bullpen. He knew he made a bargain with himself that he wanted to be a starting pitcher and lengthen himself out, and that was going to come at the cost of those triple-digit readings. But, that first month of the season, he was still hitting, 97, 98, 99 on occasion and kind of sitting in the mid-90s. And now, over the last month or two, it's been a little bit more, kind of sitting in the low 90s. And when he amps it up, it's more like 95, 96. So I did talk to him and asked him, do you expect the velo to maybe bump back up as you come into these shorter bursts? And, he thinks that's going to happen naturally. He's not going to go out and try to throw 103 when he's been chilling at 95 all season, because that's maybe not the best for his health. But sounds like we could get, a little bit more of a, an electric Jordan Hicks in shorter bursts out of the bullpen. And it's also, he's going to have about 20 days here, not between starts, but to cover the 2 starts in the span of about 20 days here. So even if he does have to take down, a couple more turns through the rotation. I think the Giants are hopeful that he's kind of benefiting from this extra rest that they've built in, giving him 8 days before his last start, and now a pretty extended rest over the All-Star break too.
Well, Evan Webeck with us. I'm glad you agree, but I would do it today. I've seen enough of Ryan Walker throwing to lefties. He's having trouble. I've seen enough of Rogers giving up home runs. Those home runs that were hit last night, they were balls that were put right over the plate. Those are tired pitchers. And it's Coors Field. It's unforgiving. And I say put him in there right now and make him the right-handed eighth inning guy now. I would not wait around. These games you got to win. All right, that's where I stand on that. All right, I'll give you one more. Matos. Look, Yastrzemski is starting to hit a little bit. If they want to go to a right-handed outfielder, they better find a new one because Matos right now is overwhelmed, I think, in the National League. So if they're going to make trades or do things, I would not wait around another 2 weeks. If I'm the Giants, I would make my moves now, and one would be to get a right-handed hitting outfielder.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a hard case to make that they should even make any moves, right, Marty? I mean, there's kind of two sides of the argument. Is that as we've been discussing for most of this conversation, is that this is a team that's like highly flawed, and and those have shown in their record on the field, 4 games below 500, behind. I mean, they're not just out of playoff position; they're behind 5 other teams just to get to that third wild card spot, and it's a 3-game difference, but that's a lot of teams that you have to jump. And now, is that a team worth investing in? Would you trade some of their top prospects to bring in somebody who could bolster that and maybe make their chances at getting that second or third wild card a little bit better just to get into the dance? Because if you do get in and this team gets in and kind of you start to envision maybe the best case scenario, getting these starters back, and you kind of look at what a potential playoff rotation could be, and that's going to be a team if the returns of Ray and Cobb go well and Snell continues to progress. These are all highly variable things, but if all that goes well, that's a very, very dangerous, intimidating playoff rotation for any team to match up with. And we've all seen, I mean, the Giants, all it takes is to get into October and anything can happen. So it's kind of what Farhan and the front office is going to be evaluating over the next 2 weeks, and why probably, they need to play a lot better than they did last night and put up a good record and maybe get themselves in better position to convince the front office to make those investments. Because right now, I think that, it's just they're kind of stuck toward the back of the pack with a lot of teams that are, it just seems to be inevitable that we're going to get at least 1 or 2 teams in the National League in the postseason that just simply are not good baseball teams. It's just the reality of the third wild card, and it's been that way ever since it was implemented. It's unfortunate. I think it's been one of the more negative developments of the new rules here in baseball and the changes that we've seen over the last decade. I've been a fan of a lot of things. The third wild card, every year, it's just been a race to the bottom, and it's just been an excuse for teams to not fully compete for their division or even try to get to 90 wins because they know that 84 wins will get them in. And then once they get in, who made the World Series last year, right? It was the bottom seed, the number 6 seed, the Arizona Diamondbacks. And who knows? The same thing could happen, right? So is that a team worth investing in? Or should they build for the future, Marty?
Nope. I say do it now and make your moves now. They're not that far away, but they need help. And if they think they're going to do it on pitching, that pitching needs some help, and they need it in the bullpen today, not to wait around. All right, Ev. Hey, great to have you with us. As always, I love talking ball with you. You have a great perspective. You've done a really good job on the beat, so we appreciate it. And have a great day. We'll catch up with you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Marty. Always enjoy it.
All right, that is Evan Webeck. He covers the Giants. Good baseball discussion here on this Saturday. More coming up. KNBR 680, 104.5, the sports leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Vans Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is a senior managing director of Bridgebank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheeto Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridgebank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it. Gene Bogano checked in from the Tides up in Bodega Bay, and he said that while it's been hot inland, we know that, Temperatures have been quite comfortable out on the coast, ranging from the mid-60s into the low 70s. At the Tides restaurant, patrons have a wide variety of choices, ranging from delicious seafood salads and pastas to the ever-popular fried calamari and grilled fish. If you're planning a trip to the beach, the Tides Fish Market offers a great selection of food and beverage items, perfect for picnicking, while across the hall, just go into the gift shop. They have whatever apparel you need, from swimsuits to beach towels, anything you might need for that excursion. And if you're looking to stay for a day or two just across the Highway 1, the Inn at the Tides with its large, comfortable rooms, all with a view of the bay, is waiting for you. So if you're looking to get away and escape the heat, you need to look no further than the Tides Wharf and then the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay.
Mark Simon. Mark, I love you, man.
It's great to have Mark Simon with us. Of course, Mark of Sports Info Solutions. Just a pleasure to talk ball with him. One of the best baseball analysts, I think, in the country. And you can follow him on Twitter at Mark A. Simon Says. Mark, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Ready to go. You know, you get these 4 or 5 days off, even for us. I was sort of refreshed today. I feel like it's opening day again.
Wow, I don't, but
That's you.
Good for you. Maybe it's because it's pretty hot on the East Coast, 85 degrees today, 90s from much of the week, so maybe not quite.
Well, if you come to Arizona, it's 112. So, see, I'm young. It's youth. That's what you're getting old already. All right.
Yes.
So here we go. You know, we talk about baseball. You and I have been doing it for a couple of years now. I love the conversations. There was something last night in a game I don't think I've ever seen before, and I'll just throw it to you. Wisely hits a ground ball to first. It hits the bag. Then it hits the umpire. Not only does it hit both of those things, it goes right to the first baseman, who beats Wisely to the bag. How about that?
Yeah, that was just unfortunate, I guess, from a Giants perspective. I saw it on replay like 5 times. It's one of those things that is 1 in a million, and it goes to the Tim Kirkchin thing that you're always going to see something new every day that you watch baseball, and that was the something new for sure.
Yeah, it cost the Giants last night. Well, I went on a lot on the show before you've come on about the bullpen and about relief pitching, and the Giants had one of those 8th innings last night that you don't see too often, that you can't have, and it was with Tyler Rogers on the hill. What did you see in that decisive inning, that 8th inning?
Yeah, that was bizarre. It was completely atypical of them the whole season. The 8th inning has been their lockdown inning the whole year. They entered yesterday with the fewest runs allowed in the 8th inning the whole season, and they gave up the 4. Now they're tied. The Rockies have actually given up 50 more 8th inning runs than the Giants have this year, and they shut them out in the 8th. No problem. Giants kind of melted. It felt like the last couple of innings. Tyler had been great in the 8th inning. I feel like sometimes he runs into these situations where he'll give up that little dink hit where it'll go like 30 or 40 feet. And that's like a good sign from him, because it's like they're not scoring him up. But sometimes he'll have these appearances where he'll leave 1 or 2 over the middle and a guy will crush him. And it happens like once every 10 games for him. But when it happens hard. And last night he got beat by it.
Yeah, that's what I said on the show. I said the home runs that were hit last night, Doyle's home run off of Rodriguez, the pitch was just right down the middle, just set up perfectly. The Cave home run set up perfectly by Rogers there. And even the Tovar home run off Luke Jackson, it was a low-line drive, but a very hittable pitch. So I always say about Coors is not forgiving. Isn't it amazing? You hit a routine fly ball at Coors and it looks like it's going out.
Yeah, it's kind of like my least favorite park in terms of just the way that things go. No apologies certainly to Todd Helton and Larry Walker, and congratulations to them on their Hall of Fame careers. But I don't enjoy watching games there because it's just an uncomfortable watch when your team is on the defensive the whole game. It's like any pitch could go out of the park.
Yeah, any fly ball. Well, a fly ball is hit, and it looks like it's going out, and it goes so much further than you think. So we'll see today. I think the bullpen is overworked, and I made a big deal about it on the show this morning about Walker pitching to lefties, the kid Rodriguez putting him in the sixth, and Rogers here throwing a meatball up, as you say, maybe once every 10 games, and I'm seeing it a little too much. Duvall kicks in that save on Sunday. They're lucky to win that game. Am I heading in the right direction here? Is this thing overworked?
I think very much so. They have the most bullpen innings in baseball, 405. There are other teams that are in the 380s and the 390s, but some of that's the product of the same thing as last year where they didn't have enough starting pitching. And I think the good thing with that is that's going to hopefully, based on Blake Snell's last start where he goes deeper into a game, that's one less pitcher you have to worry about. So now you've got Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb have to kind of build themselves up to being able to go 6-7 innings in a major league game. But once they get there, and that's probably going to be mid to late August, then the bullpen thing shouldn't be as much of an issue, ideally, because the starters are going deep, which I think was how the Giants envisioned it with Snell right from the start, and it just didn't happen.
Well, I think they need some help now. That's my point. I'd put Hicks in the bullpen today, and they need to win these 11 games. They need to win a lot of them to stay in this thing before the trade deadline. So that was my point today. It's a good pitching matchup today. I mean, Logan Webb got embarrassed a little bit in the All-Star game, and was sort of throwing him up there. But he's very competitive, and I know he knows, as we've said it every week, every time the guy pitches, it's a big game that he's pitching it. But on the other side, Freeland, they've knocked him around in the past, but, at home he's pretty good, and his last 4, as I said on the show, have been terrific.
Yeah, it's amazing. Start with Logan. I will go to the amazing for Freeland because there is a good tidbit on him. Logan did get roughed up third time through the order, hurt him really for the first time in a long time for him. Third time through the order, he's been very good this season. But in the Blue Jays start, he gave up the 4 hits in a row, as a matter of fact. He's not afraid to pitch in Coors. The last time he pitched in Coors, the changeup was the dominant pitch, and he wound up going 8 innings and giving up 1 run, and he got a ton of outs with the changeup that day. So keep an eye on that. Pitched against Freeland last year at Coors, too, last July 9th. Logan beat him 1-0, pitched a 7-hit shutout. J.D. Davis hitting the home run. The matchup to watch is Brenton Doyle, who's crushing anything and everything right now. Brenton Doyle is right now in this major groove against sinkers, and he's also in this major groove against sliders, and he's in this major groove this season against changeups. So it's basically there's no good potion for Logan Webb to use other than, and he brings it out every 20 pitches or so, the 4-seamer with 2 strikes. But I think the Brenton Doyle Logan Webb thing will be kind of interesting today because he is crushing the heck out of the ball, hitting a lot of home runs against sinkers, and so Kyle Freeland, here's the deal: last 4 starts, 4-seam fastball, opponents 1 hit, and they are 1 for 29 against his 4-seam, and it's not like he throws 98. But somehow he's getting outs. Curveball's been very good in this 4-start stretch too. I guess you would just say he's fully healthy. Thing to watch for him in this start would be the curveball and the slider. These are vertical pitches, not horizontal ones. So the Giants have to be smart about not swinging at pitches in the dirt today. I think if you can keep that number under a couple, I think you're probably going to be all right. And I'm going to go counterintuitive and tell you that Yaz is the pick to click today because he's 7 for 15 against Freeland. That is his second best batting average against the pitcher. And the reason for this is because Kyle Freeland likes to throw pitches into Mike Yastrzemski's hot zone. If you look at the heights of the 6 hits, they're all, or of the 7 hits, they're all in the same place. They're all just above the knees but below the waist. So look for Yaz if he gets one there to hit it well.
Boy, interesting. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game today. Estrada's another one for me that they need him to hit. And I'd like to see him a little higher in the order. And the other one I talked about was Soler, and I'll throw this out to you. You're a baseball guy. He says he likes to hit leadoff. Well, he struck out, I think, 9 of the last 11 at bats, something like that. I think it's time to tell him, we don't care if you like it. You better hit fourth and hit some home runs, will you?
I think that's a reasonable thing. But all right, so what do you want? You want Wade, you want Ramos 2, and then you want Conforto 3 to go that way, and then go Soler 4, or might you go Bailey 4, Soler 5, Chapman 6, or how do you want to do it?
I think it's Conforto and Soler and Chapman in the middle of the order, and Wade, Wisely, Fitzpatrick on the top, and Bailey behind them. And then I would go that way, something like that. But we'll see. I just think these games are so important that you have to pull out all the stops to win them now. That's my feeling about it. Big day at the Hall of Fame today. Of course, Jerry Fraley goes in with the Baseball Excellence Award, the writer, and Joe Castiglione, the Ford Frick Award from the Red Sox. But tomorrow, 4 new Hall of Famers, including Jim Leland. How do you feel about all this?
So this is a really good class, notwithstanding what I said about Coors Field before. Just looking at the different guys and what I think of, and this is kind of borrowing from how we talked about things last week. Beltre, if you look at guys that played third base primarily in their careers by wins above replacement, the only guys that are better at third base are Mike Schmidt and Eddie Matthews. He's ahead of Boggs, he's ahead of Brett, he's ahead of Chipper, he's ahead of Brooks Robinson. He's better than all of them. So I think that tells you just how good he was over the entirety of his career. Joe Mauer, if you look at 06 to 13, when he was just about exclusively a catcher, 327, 410 on base, 473 slugging, OPS 883. The catcher OPS this year is 680, and he was 883 primarily as a catcher, almost entirely as a catcher, for a good 8 years. That to me is really impressive. Todd Helton wasn't completely a Coors Field product, which is why I feel good about his election. If you look at the 6-year period from 2000 to 2005, his numbers on the road were much, much, much better than typical major league player numbers on the road. He was a standout wherever he hit. And then Jim Leyland, you had a pretty good shot with him, other than if you didn't really give him a team like Pirates in his early years or the Marlins after they won the World Series. His teams finished either first or second 11 times, 22 years as a manager. So you had a 1-2 shot of having a pretty good team with Jim Leyland. And I think it's a good class. I have no quibbles or qualms with any of them. Mauer probably paves the way for Buster. Yep. And by the way, Javier Lopez, who will be broadcasting today, the 3 hitters against him, 2 for 19.
Okay. All right. I like it.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
I was going to ask you about Posey. I thought if you had a choice, Mauer or Posey, who would you take?
Oh gosh, I don't know that I particularly like that question, because Mauer is he was like 60% catcher, 40% first base. Because I'm talking to San Francisco people here, I guess I'll say Buster. But when I go to the Sabre convention in a month, maybe I'll say Joe Mauer.
It's a good question. But I agree with you. I think Mauer getting in makes it easier for Posey to get in. I really do. Yep. All right. Hey, have a great afternoon. We'll talk Mets with you next week and see if they can get past the Marlins and stay in this thing. So we'll see.
You got it. Cool. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Mark. All right. A pleasure. That's Mark Simon. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter, I always like to have fun with him talking ball. That's what it's all about. Baseball is a talking sport. And you know who told me that? The great Vince Cotroneo. Yes, he did. All right, Bruce Jenkins next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, I'm coming up to the Bay Area to see some Giants baseball. It also means I'm going to see Sonny from A&H Transportation. A&H Transportation, the East Bay's finest, serving the Bay Area since 2007. If you need to be picked up at the airport, it's 24/7. Taken to the airport, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. Whether it's wine tours, concerts, game events, medical appointments, Sonny and A&H Transportation will take care of you just as family would. Give them a call, 925-200-2824. You can check them out on the web, ah4limo.com. Email them, ah4limo@ah4limo.net. Sonny, I'll see you soon. been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, R-O-B-B-E-N, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are nosely drain units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we welcome in Bruce Jenkins. Bruce, how are you this afternoon?
Good, Marty. How are you, man?
Good. I'm glad the break is over. I'm ready for baseball again. And I said yesterday it kind of felt like opening day for me. Let's forget about the first 97 games and play, 65 and see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of it's amazing to realize that they've almost played 100 games. The idea of a split season, before and after the All-Star break, it's no longer halves. I mean, they're really hitting the stretch drive here, and it seemed like an awful long wait. I'm so glad that the game is back. It was only a couple days, but you missed it.
I know. And, last night, look, they've got to win these games against the Rockies, and we've talked about it on the show today. They've got 7, and they let one get away last night, Bruce. And, for me, the bullpen is taxed right now, and Coors Field is unforgiving. You put a ball up and you let a guy hit it up in the air, it's going to go.
Yeah, and I thought Harrison deserved a longer start last night. Even Sergio Romo on the postgame said they went to the bullpen a little early. I mean, this kid's ready to go. I know they have to monitor his innings, and that's going to be a real issue. Down the way, they're monitoring it every time out, as opposed to how many innings he threw last year and all this stuff. But this kid is throwing heat. He allowed 1 hit in 5 innings. I loved how Melvin did leave him out there in a crisis to get through the 5th, and I figured, why not? I mean, it just baffles me that if you throw 99 pitches, you're good, but if you throw 115, your arm's going to fall off. I just have never understood that. You got to watch the game, especially in Colorado, because the bullpen. It doesn't take long in Colorado for the bullpen to get taxed. As soon as he went out, I said to my wife, "It's going to be 3-3 in 10 minutes," and it was 3-2 in 10 minutes. I mean, it's just that's what they got what they deserved. I feel last night because Harrison deserved longer, and it's the bullpen that was not representative of what they are, but the circumstances were a little rough for me.
Well, they lead the major leagues in bullpen innings, and that's significant. That as we say, we're getting close to 100 games. That's a lot of innings pitched. If you add up 400 plus innings to 100 games, you're going in the bullpen for close to 3 to 4 a game. And Bruce, the home runs last night, I mean, those balls were right over the plate. And yes. I think, and I said it, and I'll take a stand on it. If they're going to do anything, I think they've got to make a move now. I think Hicks has got to go into the bullpen now, and I think they've got to add another right-handed reliever, and I think they're going to need an outfielder too, from what I see. And the other thing with Soler, I'll give you all my thoughts here. I don't care if he likes hitting leadoff. He's got to hit third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth, or someplace to drive in runs. And that's what he was paid for. And I think they've got to put him in there and let him do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's obviously where he should be. I mean, hitting him leadoff, he may be producing more there, but that's just not the way things work with the way this team is constructed and the way any team is constructed. When you have a guy with that track record, you just have to figure, he's going to be more productive. He'd have to be. He hasn't really done much of anything all season, but I definitely agree. I mean, in terms of right-handed relievers, Jackson's is walking on thin ice right now.
Yep.
Doval is coming under intense scrutiny. Even Kruko was highly critical of him on the air, more from an attitude standpoint, and just not reacting properly to the circumstances that he's put in. It's not always a one-run lead where it's desperation time, and I don't think it's panic time with him at all. I think, let him deal with the fact that, people are scrutinizing him, and he can bounce back. But I agree. I'd like to see another lefty reliever in there, too, if we're going to add on here.
Well, the truth of the matter, I mean, I do this loss column thing all the time. The Giants have 51 losses. And if you go right from the Braves right to Washington, it's 42, 46, 47, 48, 48, 50, 51, 52, 53. They're in the middle of the entire wild card race, and I just don't think you can wait around. I think it's time to be active now because everyone in the race is going to be looking for relievers and extra outfielders, and I think the Giants have to get ahead of the curve. That's just how after watching last night, I said, come on, we've got to tighten this thing up.
Well, yeah, there's 8 teams in that logjam behind Atlanta. 9 if you include Washington, and you probably should. And the Giants they're 8th, but they're just 3.5 out of second. So,
yeah.
On the one hand, it's like it's no time to panic. They're right there, but that's an awful lot of only 3 teams are going to make it. Atlanta being one, and I wouldn't bet against San Diego. So all of a sudden, you're up against an awful lot of teams. It'd be like the old 8-team National League where you got to finish first or you're done.
Oh boy. All right. Well, that's. I think we've covered it. That's a story. And look, you see something crazy every game. And last night the ball hit the bag, the umpire, and went right to the first baseman. It was like a pinball machine, and got Giants out of a big inning. That could ice the game.
I've never seen anything like that. I've seen a lot of balls hit the umpire and hit him square, or it'll bounce over here, over there. But this thing went straight up in the air and right to the first baseman. It was like a gift. He couldn't screw it up if he tried. And all of a sudden, what could have been a 2-run double is a disappointing out. And the first base bag played in there too. But I mean, how do you just? It's such a it's sort of trite to say that you see something new every time you go to the park. But a fair amount of the time you do.
Yeah, and last night was a first for me. I will tell you that. And
me too.
It did affect the game. Eddie Montague's on vacation, but we would have him on today to talk about that.
Yes.
See
yes.
if I don't think Eddie ever got hit like that. Believe me. All right, a couple of things. One, the All-Star game. What did you think of the game? And everyone's got an opinion on the uniforms, including me. So let's hear from you.
Well, it looked like Ralph's against the guys from Ed's Linoleum. I mean, good God, you couldn't. Who could possibly dream up not only something that bad, but to get away from the uniforms that the guys wear? There's so many classic photos from the past All-Star games. Aaron, Mays, and Clemente taking a group photo in their uniforms. Classic. You put that in there today, it's like, well, they had a kid's birthday party. I mean, it was unbelievably disgraceful. Here they're talking about, they're hinting at changing it next year. Really? I mean, God, so much for that. A total disgrace. And because of that, it definitely cuts down on the memories. For me, it was all about Skeens and the inning he had, and Mason Miller pitching to Ohtani. Some of the details of the game. Duran was very impressive, but the game is all about pure heat, and it's really it's unfair to bring in a different relief pitcher every inning. It just is. It's fair in terms of everybody gets to pitch, and that's very cool. I completely get that. But when you go from one just fireballer who's got an unbelievable split to the next guy who's got a cutter that you can't hit, and they're all great pitchers, and it's really tough. You got to admire anybody who squares anybody up in that game.
Yeah, I love that. We've talked about Duran, Bruce, at Boston.
Yeah.
And he's leading the major leagues in triples. Man, I think he's halfway to 20 triples, which is a big deal. And he's got good power, good speed. I thought he showed up. I thought that was a big part of what I enjoyed in the game, is watching him play.
Yeah, a great pick by the Red Sox. He's a 7th-round pick out of Cal State Long Beach, and never really hit more than 8 homers in a season, I think. He homered in 3 straight games this year, and he jacked that ball out. And he can run. The Red Sox are really fun, and they're really fresh. I mean, they've got all these guys. They're getting Vaughn Grissom back, the former Braves prospect. He's a good ball player. But, it's Ref Snyder and Jose Abreu, and Williard, don't call me Jose Abreu, and Tristan Casas, and all these guys. But they're fun, and Duran's leading the way.
Yeah, they played the Dodgers last night, and, of course, walked Will Smith. So their lefty could pitch to Freddie Freeman with the bases loaded in the 8th inning, down 1-0, and he knocked it out. And that was baseball last night. That was a game last night.
Yeah, it sounded good on the percentage sheet. I mean, we're going to go lefty-lefty here with to Freeman, but he's now hit 7 Grand Slams in his career. He's just a monster with the bases loaded. And I mean, what do you do? That's a pick your poison kind of deal that worked against the Red Sox. They had the guy they threw out there, Nick Pivetta, struck out Ohtani 3 times. That was pretty impressive.
He's something else, this Pivetta. You know that?
Yeah, his stuff is great.
Yeah. Every time you see him, it's 6-7 innings of 2-hit ball.
Yeah.
And then they take him out, and then something happens. But he's been amazing. Now it's Giants-Dodgers this week for 4. Kershaw pitched last night. Robbie Ray pitched yesterday. Maybe Kershaw and Robbie Ray pitch against each other this week. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be a switch from Robleski against Birdsong. Here they go, second game out of the break, the Dodgers, and Robleski's going today. That tells you all you need to know about the state of their staff. They really needed a good start last night, and they got one from Gavin Stone, who's been like the savior. But yeah, I can't wait for that 4-game series against the Dodgers. That's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, Glasnow is coming back, but Snell is going to be in this one, and it looks like probably Webb would miss it if he's today, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I think he probably would miss it if.
That's a shame, but
or maybe maybe he'll pitch in the last one, but yeah, this is going to be pretty good. This will be good. Hey, you got a nice honor this week. You're on the ballot for the Baseball Writers Association of America, the Baseball Excellence Award, and this is your 3rd time. I want you to win this time.
You only get 3, so I finished 3rd, I finished 2nd, so it's my year to win. But I got to tell you, my money's on Tom Boswell, who's one of the great baseball writers and great columnists that we've had in this country. And I so admired that guy going back to Baltimore, watching him work, getting to know him. He's going to be really tough competition. But just to be in that argument for 3 years has been a really fun thing. It's very satisfying. I've never really expected to win the thing, and so we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's fabulous. Who is the 3rd one? Boswell is in there.
Paul Hoynes is another guy.
Of Cleveland.
He will get in. He's one of those guys who covers 162. He's at all the meetings. He's everywhere. He's a soldier, and he's reliable, and he's very good. Cleveland. Yeah.
All right. I'm putting my money on you. All right.
Okay. Well, that's one. Let's spread the word, Marty.
Oh, yeah. Well, what an honor, though. And I was thinking about it because, look, we've had Bay Area baseball going back to 1958. And, of course, we have the A's. We've got the Giants. We've got tremendous baseball. All the broadcasters and the Hall of Famers. There's only Nick Peters and Bob Stevens, unless I'm wrong.
Right, yeah.
Right? Of all the writers in 70 years, whatever it may be, 65 years, that's it. And it's your time. It's time that you got recognized.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about Ron Bergman and Glenn Schwartz and all the we've had some really really good baseball writers. I'm sure I'm leaving out some guys here, but well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Once again, I'm thrilled to be one of the top 3 nationally. So. We'll see where it goes.
Yep. Let's hope so. Rob Manfred today, this is a good one, talked about the baseball and the Olympics. How do you feel about that? Should baseball get back into it? And could they let the pros play? Could they let the major leaguers somehow figure it out?
I'm kind of indifferent on that. To me, the Olympics are they're not about baseball. When I covered Barcelona in 1992, it was part of the Olympics, and outside of wanting to take a really good look at the Cuban team in their all red uniforms, I didn't pay much attention to it. There was just so much more going on. That's when you really get into gymnastics and track and field and weightlifting and wrestling and all this stuff, kayaking. And it's all people with their lives on the line. They've been working forever for this thing, and to put Aaron Judge in there, I really don't care. I mean, it'd be better if it was all amateurs, but then, which ones do you take, and do you risk getting hurt? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't hate it. I mean, I love the sport, and I would love international competition, but it wouldn't really move me either way.
Well, we have the WBC, and that I love.
I totally love. Yeah.
And that's really what we like, and it comes at the right time in spring training, and you get a tremendous pull all over the world, watching it all over the Latin.
Absolutely.
So for me, the WBC, but maybe they could relax the rules a little bit to try to beef up the team a little bit, so it's just not a minor league team going in there. So we'll see. But that was the latest thing. I think there is some sentiment to trying to get the pros back in there, but it would undercut the WBC. So we'll see where that goes. So you wrote a beautiful story, and I wanted Raph to let you know I'd like to ask you about it in the Chronicle online today about surfing being part of the Olympics. And come on, they're having the competition in Tahiti. What happened to Paris and the river? The mayor was just in the river saying it's fine.
Yeah, and I've made 2 surfing trips to France, a place called Hossegor on the Atlantic coast, the Basque Country. Fantastic surf spot. Ideal for the Olympics, except it doesn't start really firing until September, and both times I was there, it was before September, and I kind of got skunked a little bit. But so it's too much of a risk. And, Tahiti is French Polynesia, and there's a spot there that I wrote about. You talk about a switch. I mean, the first time they had surfing in the Olympics in 2021 in Japan, they had it way outside of Tokyo at a beach break that was just all stormy and weird and basically just horrible. And only the caliber of the surfers made it even worth watching. Now, they're going to have it at the place when it's at its best. It is like flat out the scariest, heaviest, most killer wave in the world. I mean, it breaks just so hollow. They say you could drive a truck through it. That's an old cliche. Well, you can drive a truck through the tube of this wave when it's really big. It's totally insane. When it's more of a reasonable size, like say 12 feet, that would be perfect because it's still an amazing, scary wave. But it would definitely do justice to all the great surfers that are going to be in it. And the scary part, as I mentioned, is that, because it's the Olympics, you've got a lot of countries represented. You've got people coming in who have never surfed a wave anywhere near like that. And all of a sudden, this is what they get. So it's we'll see. It could, the waves could be terrible for the whole waiting period. And they go, what the hell? What's the big commotion? But if it is good, it could be very memorable.
So this is Tahiti.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, how do you score? I've never seen a competition. Now, you're the expert in this. How does one score a ride that a surfer's doing?
Well, the rides are scored based on where the spot is. If it's a spot that breaks where the waves are kind of soft, then you got to get off a bunch of turns. You got to get some aerials. You got to fly up into the air and do tricks and all that stuff. At this place, there's only one thing you do, and that's try to get to the bottom. The drop is like an elevator shaft. Make a turn and then pull up into this barrel and hope to God you make it. So it's very, very simple. If you disappear from view and come out of that tube, that's going to be 8.5 plus. They're pretty stingy with their 10s, but it does happen. But it's very cut and dried. You have to basically survive to get a good score.
Wow, amazing! All right,
yeah.
Now can we see this? Is this something that I know NBC has got all this? Is this going to be on somewhere?
Well, NBC, the problem surfing always has is that you never know if it's going to be good. You can say that we have a window here, but if you're NBC, you want to know that it's July 28th, okay, at 10 a.m. That they want to know that, and you can't know it. You can't know really until you wake up and see what kind of waves you got. So TV is going to be in and out of this thing, but the saving grace for every sport, no matter what sport you want to watch, is Peacock, which is a streaming service of NBC. It's $8 a month, and in this case, I would definitely advise people getting it. Let's just say you want. I had a friend over last night who's a kayaker, and the last time around they had this same setup. He watched every heat, every moment of the kayaking, thanks to the streaming. And you can do that for any sport, including surfing. So get that. You can dial it up, on demand. You don't have to be watching it live. And that's going to be a great way to watch the Olympics. It's highly recommended.
Well, I thought you wrote a great story. I told Raph by the time the story was over, I was scared I was afraid that I'd be sucked into the reef underneath the wave.
I get scared watching the videos of this place, and I'm really into this sport, and I've followed this spot, Teahupo'o, for years since it was first revealed, and it never ceases to be just friggin' horrifying.
Okay, all right. Well, great job with
Thanks.
that. I really like that. There are a couple of historical notes for today, and we'll talk tomorrow about the Hall of Fame. The induction is tomorrow, but there were a couple of birthdays that I liked, and one in particular, Tony Oliva, sort of reminds me of Joe Mauer, and today is the birthday of the great Hall of Famer, Tony Oliva of the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, great. Two great left-handed hitters, Minnesota Twins Hall of Famers, and boy, they couldn't be more different. Joe Mauer was a kid, from Minneapolis, All-American kid. He was an all-state point guard, but that was his worst sport, all-state point guard. He was like the number one recruit in football and basketball in his senior year. He comes into the league. He's everything you heard about him. He's an MVP. He wins a batting title against Derek Jeter, hitting .365. That's one of the great averages by any time. He's a catcher. 3 state gold gloves, and it didn't take long to find out anything you need to know about Joe Mauer, right? But Tony Oliva was a mystery. He came out of Cuba just right before things got nasty with the Bay of Pigs there long ago. There's not a whole lot is completely clear about his background. He came into the U.S. under a different name. He didn't have a passport. There was all kind of complications and contradictions about his family and his wife. All these stories told, and geez, then he comes over here and he's playing in the minor leagues. It's like what we heard from Mays and Reggie Jackson about playing baseball in the South in the 60s. He can't go to a hotel. There's only one place in the town that serves blacks. He's walking to and from the ballpark, and he shows up as a rookie in '64 and hits 32 homers and 217 hits. Just
wow.
a genius hitter. As was Mauer, but just the stories between those two guys. There's not a lot of connections there.
Made me think of both, though. With Oliva,
Yeah.
I thought of Mauer. Batting titles for both of them.
Yeah.
The other one today made me think, too, was Mickey Stanley. And, of course, he was with the Tigers in 1968. They win the pennant. They win the American League pennant. They're going into the World Series against the Cardinals. And now Al Kaline, who's been on the disabled list, I think, is now back. There's no DH. They got to get him in the lineup.
Yeah.
So they take Mickey Stanley from center field. This is the World Series. And they make him a shortstop.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, boy, if that happened today, no one would say a word. But back in '68, this was a big deal.
No, one of the boldest strategical moves in history by Mayo Smith. He had 3 shortstops, and none of them could hit. The one guy that he played, Roy Euler, he hit 135. That's almost impossible to do. So you had nothing there. And he goes, we can't have that. We're playing the Cardinals. Brock Flood, Maris Cepeda, McCarver, on, and Bob Gibson. So Mickey Stanley was a guy who loved to come out to the park and take ground balls. He could fill in for you anywhere. And meanwhile, in that season, the '68 season, Marty, in center field, Mickey Stanley played 130 games and made no errors.
Wow.
So you're talking about a really good center fielder moving to shortstop. But, he wasn't thrilled about it because all of a sudden he was nervous, he's under the spotlight. But he made a couple errors, but neither one of them amounted to much. He threw out, right away, he threw out Lou Brock on a close play, which was a big deal. You threw out Lou Brock, no matter who you are. And he got a big hit in Game 5 when they were down 3-1 to the Cardinals. So he definitely handled it, and the Tigers wound up winning this series. And it's such a shame because so now the next year, Stanley's like the talk of the town. The first day of spring training, he hurts his throwing arm, and it affected him the whole rest of his career. It ruined my career. I played the whole rest of it with a bad arm. But he'll always be remembered for what he did on that great Tigers team.
Wow. And you do it today, Tyler Fitzgerald, you wouldn't think twice about it, and if he doesn't get a hit, he'll be back in Sacramento. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is the World Series, though. I mean, this is. I think it would still be a big deal in the World Series if you put Ramos at short.
Crazy. That's baseball. That's baseball. All right. Well, Bruce, you got to win this election. This is your time to get recognized in Cooperstown. So it's a big deal.
Well, I appreciate all the good words you put out for me. That's the kind of stuff that means a lot. Just to have people going, hey, way to go.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
Yep, and it's well deserved. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Thanks.
Okay, talk then.
All right, that's Bruce Jenkins. All right, more coming up. Well, what a pleasure. Next, Thomas Harding, who's in Cooperstown, and he covers the Rockies for MLB.com, and he's there today because Todd Helton's going in tomorrow. So Thomas will join us from Cooperstown right after this.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Fans for great baseball gear, check out Baseballism. The store is located at 3rd and King opposite the ballpark. Whether it's jackets, shirts, hats, you name it, Baseballism is the most unique store I've seen. It is the best. 3rd and King, right opposite the ballpark. Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. We're joined by Grant Power, the president and CEO of Nations. Grant, we love talking to you about Nations and about Nations during the summer. Of course, the spring, the fall. It is summertime. What's new at Nations in the summer?
We don't change the menu too much throughout the year, but the biggest thing that always stands out in the summer is that we do not believe in frozen strawberries. We've had the same supplier down in Ventura County for, I think, 35 years at this point. To get fresh strawberries on your breakfast, whether that's French toast or pancakes, and most importantly, to get fresh strawberries on your cheesecake pie or your strawberry tarts really stands out. The other item that, for whatever reason, seems to spike in the summer is our wild salmon. Our wild salmon burger is amazing, one of my favorite items on the menu. People sometimes forget that you can sub in the wild salmon on your Nation's breakfast if you want wild salmon filet instead of the bacon or the sausage. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's people being on the water or boating or the warmer weather, but strawberries and the salmon, those are probably the two biggest summer highlights.
Well, I love it. All right, Grant, you're making me hungry. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you again.
Always a privilege. You take care, Marty.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and, of course, Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball with the Rockies game 2 of this 3-game series. By the way, tomorrow, I just saw the Giants notes. Maybe they listen to the show today. Hayden Birdsong is going to pitch tomorrow for the Giants against Ryan Feltner, right-hander for the Rockies tomorrow. So maybe Jordan Hicks is in the bullpen already. Let's hope so. That's what the point of my show today. Giants lineup is out today. Soler, Matos in left, Ramos, Chapin, Flores, Estrada, Yastrzemski, Casali, and Fitzgerald is catching today. So that's the lineup for the Giants today. Let's go to Cooperstown. What a pleasure to bring in Thomas Harding. He covers the Rockies for MLB.com and having a special weekend in the beautiful birthplace of baseball. Thomas, how are you?
I'm feeling good, feeling clean here in Cooperstown.
Tell us what it's like and what you're doing there, and what's the atmosphere like today?
I'll tell you what, baseball, you cover so much of it, and it is a big business. But when you get down to it, it's people who love the game and would play it anywhere. So we're here in this beautiful little village here with a lot of amenities. I mean, an opera house where they had a press availability today. I mean, the Hall of Fame itself. But you could just imagine living here way, way back and then going out and playing a game of baseball with your friends.
Wow. They had the induction today of Joe Castiglione and the late Jerry Fraley today. Were you able to go for that?
Yes, I was. In fact, those were two special events. Obviously, Jerry Fraley, never worked with him, but actually worked for a couple of people that he worked for. So I would love to catch up with Mark Wicker, who so kindly introduced him today. That was a beautiful thing to have an old-time baseball writer, a guy that was competitive about it, a guy that was thorough, a guy that was fair. It's wonderful to see him go in. And Joe Castiglione, who I had never met, but I talked to him a couple of times today, and he's the type of guy you want to keep talking to. And I think where he was the most comfortable was not talking about himself, but there was a panel. Now, Pedro Martinez and Trot Nixon couldn't make it, but it was David Ortiz and Joe Torre, and they were talking about what happened in 2003 and 2004. And Joe, bringing the stories out of those guys, that's what he does. He watches the baseball game. He tells you the story, and that's what he likes most. I think he even said that talking about himself is not his thing. Talking about others is his thing.
Wow, beautiful. Thomas Harding with us from Cooperstown. Well, we hope we have an interest in it. Hopefully, Kruk and Kipe, we'd love to see them next year get the award. And the BBWA award, our Bruce Jenkins is up for his third time, and against Paul Hoynes and Thomas Boswell. So we're big Bruce Jenkins fans here, so I'm hoping maybe next year I'll be in Cooperstown and talking about it. But I'm glad you're there. But you're there for another reason, and that's Todd Helton tomorrow. What about that?
That is a totally wonderful thing. By the way, I stopped at the CVS store, and there's Harold Reynolds walking in to pick up some stuff. It's kind of cool. You see all the baseball figures walking around here. Yes, Todd Helton. Guy that I became familiar with, actually, I think it was his sophomore year of high school. I was working for the Memphis Commercial Appeal, the paper there, covering a state tournament. Todd Helton, he was just a sophomore and led Knoxville Central to a championship, and it wasn't close because nobody could get him out. Absolutely nobody could get him out. If you threw if you wanted to walk him, you did. But high school guys are always going to make a mistake, and I think Todd may have hit 800 that year. It was unbelievable. But to watch him grow, I covered him some in football, the state All-Star game, a few starts at the University of Tennessee. But baseball was the way he was going to make his money, and watching that guy hit, he's on a short list of guys that I would pay, or I would, like, I don't know, if I could have frozen their batting practice, I would watch it pretty much every day. And really you have, and this is in my time, you have Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Mike Piazza, and Todd Helton. Those four guys, I would watch those guys take batting practice. In fact, if I could get hold of video of them just taking batting practice, that would be something I'd watch if I was having a bad day.
Boy, his buddy is Peyton Manning. I wonder if he'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, no, a lot of the guys from Tennessee football and baseball are there. So I don't know. He didn't mention Peyton this morning, but I would be, I would think he could get here if he can get here. You know, a lot of guys are having problems because of the airline situation yesterday. Right. He lost a few guys that were going to come, but his high school baseball coach is 82 years old, I believe, and some of the players from Knoxville Central High School, they couldn't get out. The coach couldn't get out. So what did they do? They got the coach into a car and drove all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee to Cooperstown. So this is a beautiful time.
Wow. Yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. I've been there a few times. It's very, very, very special. What about the Coors Field effect that kept Helton out for a number of years? You've covered the team on the road and at Coors Field. How did it affect Todd Helton?
I think it affected him. Larry Walker getting in kind of broke some of it, but it'll always affect Rockies players. And here's the problem. The voters will never understand the Coors Field effect, because you talk about how, it could inflate your offensive numbers. But the problem is you have to go on the road and you have to play a lot of games on the road. When you go on the road, it affects you in ways that people don't expect, meaning that while people talk about the ball traveling at Coors, the big outfield at Coors, where it affects you is those 60 feet to 6 inches from the rubber to the plate are completely different. You're playing a completely different sport almost. I've had so many guys tell me that, especially if they've had a homestand of any length, it takes at least 2 games on the road just to get used to the ball traveling the way it traveled your entire life. So you're going in and out of a completely different atmosphere to hit in, and then you're going in and out of a completely different atmosphere. And this is something else that isn't talked about much, to live in, meaning there's a lot less oxygen. Sleep is affected. This team has done so many studies on just simple rest and recovery, and they've worked on it, and it's still something that a lot of road teams, what they do, they avoid it. I remember talking to Cal Quantrill earlier this year, and he said that some of the times when he's come in as a road player, the strength and conditioning coaches tell you, don't go to the weight room, just pass it by. And it's part of preparation for most people, but it's like, just don't go to the weight room. Now, if you're the home team, you're the Colorado Rockies, you have to lift weights at some point, because that's how you maintain your body. So if you think of it that way, there are challenges that other teams don't have.
Boy, Thomas, great to talk to you, Thomas. Let's talk about Helton just for another second. Think about him as a hitter. What do you remember about him specifically? What kind of a hitter was he?
Well, there are 2 things that were outstanding about how Todd Helton hit. Number one, he seemed to always find a way to hit balls really hard. I mean, and we're talking about even tough pitches. He found ways to hit them hard. The other thing is the pitches that he couldn't hit, he found ways to foul them off, and he was very stingy with his at bat, and that is why his average is what it is. I mean, you look at his averages, very high average at home, but an average on the road that beats a lot of Hall of Famers. And it's because he just simply never gave up in the batter's box. And that's what I liked about him. And like when you saw him in batting practice, hitting the ball to all parts of the field hard, you heard a sound come out of him that sounded like NFL films on a football player. It's that type of thing. That's why it was so impressive to watch him hit. In fact, I always wished I had, I wish I had athletic talent for a lot of reasons. But if I'd had athletic talent and been the on-deck hitter when Todd Helton batted, I would have probably forgotten about my at-bat and just studied his at-bat and cherished it.
Wow. Boy, great report, Thomas. Really nice to have you on today. Let's talk a little bit of Rockies Game 2 today, and it's Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. We've seen a lot of him. He's pitched well against the Giants at certain times, and other times the Giants have hit him. He's on a very nice streak right now. What's up with Kyle Freeland?
I'll tell you what, when he came back from his elbow injury, he had a left elbow strain, and it was really mysterious because all spring training he was pitching the best we'd ever seen Kyle Freeland pitch. And what happened, he came out for the start of the regular season, and it was terrible. I mean, 10 runs in 2 1/3 innings against the Diamondbacks the first time out. Then he started getting better, but he had the elbow strain, which really scared him because he's never had a strain in that part of the elbow before. He took the time to get it right. He took a month and a half, I believe it is. And, a lot of times when you're younger in your career, you try to, okay, I'll pitch through this. But he said, no, something is going on here. I mean a lot to this team. I can't try to fight through it selfishly and end up hurting myself longer. When he came back, this is the guy we saw in spring training this year, a changeup that he's worked his entire career to develop. It's there, and all the other pitchers are there. And this is what the Rockies are kind of excited about. He's back. Germán Marquez came back in the last game before the All-Star break. Cal Quantrill has pitched well. They'll have to make a decision whether to trade him, but they're thinking with the prospects that are coming and these guys, including Antonio Senzatella, who comes back in August or September, do we have pitching depth? Is there a different, can you go into the offseason thinking we'll find a way to be next year's Kansas City Royals, meaning make some of the right moves and let some of their guys develop, and suddenly you've got a contending team.
Boy, all right. Well, they played well last night. Doyle had a big home run. One last thing for you in the draft. The Rockies picked up a very, very good power hitter from Georgia, the kid Condon. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was something I was saying this earlier today. Going into the draft, and I, deal a lot with the front office and people like that. There was a list of guys they were looking at, but to a person, they almost assumed before the draft Condon. And suddenly on draft day, as I'm checking around, Condon is one of the names. In fact, I sat there and wrote 5 stories of the 5 guys they were looking at, and Condon was one. And when I heard his name, I got the feeling that I got back in 2013, where I wrote a whole story on the Rockies drafting Chris Bryant with the 3rd overall pick. And then that morning I find out that the Cubs had smoke screened beautifully, and they were going to draft Bryant, so I wrote my John Gray story. So it's one of those things where you're in the draft, and you got to understand that high in the draft, you can't go wrong. You can't be disappointed that maybe one guy you want isn't there, or certainly you can be overjoyed that the guy you want is there, but no matter what happens, your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, that's a guy that's going to make a difference for your organization. Condon is 6'6". Looks like he still has some muscle to put on, but what I like about him is with the new college bat for the last few years, he set the home run record. This is a guy who may not be in the minor leagues long. Not only that, but he played third base, the outfield, even took ground balls at shortstop. He's trying to find a way that positionally, when he's ready, they can just throw him into the lineup.
Wow, exciting. Thomas, great to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy tonight, and tomorrow is very special, and we'll talk to you again probably next weekend. Thank you, Thomas.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that is Thomas Harding. Boy, it does a nice job, MLB.com. All right, we'll take a break, come back with Tyler Fitzgerald. He's in there tonight. Thank goodness. This kid can make an impact. He's a difference maker with his speed, and he's got some pop, too. All right, Tyler Fitzgerald next, right here in the Sports League.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, I'd love to talk about Georgie Brothers Furniture. They've been in the Bay Area for over 90 years. They have that 50,000 square foot showroom. It's got over 150 wonderful carpets, window coverings, and all sorts of furniture manufacturers. Well, the big news is stressless chairs. They make high-quality, comfortable furniture, sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous stressless chair, which I have, in my home. Now, there's a great sale going on. It goes on till August 5th, and it's called On the Spot Summer Savings. This is very exciting. You can receive an instant rebate for $100 for every $1,000 spent. So the 10% savings is really one of the best of the summer. Stressless furniture, I'm telling you, you have to try it. It's very, very healthy, very good for you. Check out Georgie Brothers Furniture. It's in South San Francisco, but look at them online. Georgie Brothers, GIORGIBROS.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, Marty Laurie here as we get ready for Giants baseball with Tyler Fitzgerald. Boy, I'll tell you, things change quickly around here as part of the Giants, and now you're getting a shot. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, first of all, Marty, thanks for having me on here, but it means a lot. It's something that I've been, waiting for and praying about, and just really waiting patiently for my opportunity, and now it's here, so just hoping to take advantage of it.
What are the things that you have to work on? Of course, the coaches work with you a lot. What is it that they want you to do that helps you become a better major leaguer?
Really, it's just, being comfortable and getting my confidence back. It's pretty easy to lose it up here. Everything's kind of magnified, so boot a ball and you kind of take that to the plate. That's what happened last night until I just flipped the switch and kind of got over it. But really, they've been just preaching confidence, and when I go down to sack, I do really well. It's just because I'm so relaxed, and I'm just hoping to take that mentality here finally.
It's funny. People don't realize you got power. You do have power, and we saw it against Kikuchi, who's a tough customer. Struck out 13 Giants on Tuesday night. What did you see from Kikuchi, and did you know it was gone when you hit it?
I had a feeling, but you never really know here. I learned that last September when I got a ball just about as good as I could, and it didn't even leave left center. So really, I had a feeling it was gone. I know I didn't get it as good as I could have, but I knew with the ball flight that it was probably gone. He almost made an incredible play and left there. He looked like Spider-Man out there. So, but yeah, I got some power. Hopefully, with more consistent at-bats, I can show that up here, like I do when I'm in AAA and whatnot. So definitely hoping to bring that up here with me.
We're joined by Tyler Fitzgerald, who's really getting a shot at short and second. Who knows where? What's coming next? You don't know. But second base, shortstop, do you have to make an adjustment mentally when you go to these different positions?
Definitely, but most of it just comes with preparation. I've been moving around the field a lot this year, and last week I was taking a lot of my reps for the last couple of days in Cleveland at first and wasn't getting a lot of work at short. I was playing a little bit of second. And then, this happens yesterday, and I'm told that I'm going to be playing some more short. So it's just about getting as many reps as possible. That's why I was out here early today and trying to get my legs in good shape and just being in, I never really know what position I'm going to be in that day, but when I see my name in the lineup, it's just I have to prepare as best as I possibly can in this situation.
Well, speed is a big part of your game, you're right, and you have to get those legs ready. The interesting part of Tuesday night was you scored a winning run, but in reading about it, they said you were willing it, you were praying for it, you were on third base saying things. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean... yeah, that was 100% true. I just kind of it just felt like that was going to happen. It kind of felt like that was meant to be with everything that happened and me getting a shot yesterday and, me not getting pinch hit for late in the game and getting the walk. It just felt like Wisely was going to come with a big hit, and it just felt like I don't really know how to explain it, but I really do think that, the thoughts that were going on in my head just kind of manifested what happened. It's really weird, but I've never really had that happen before. It's kind of like when you're in the infield and you just kind of will a ball to you. It's kind of something I can't really explain.
All right. Well, it's a good part of you, and it's a fun part of you. But verbally, what were you saying to yourself?
He had a great changeup, and I knew from when I was up there hitting that one that starts at your chest is going to end up in the dirt, and the one that starts at your head is going to end up right down the middle. So I knew at any moment, if he threw one of those changeups, it was going to drop 4 feet and maybe get away from the catcher. And luckily it did. But, if it would have even scooted away a few feet, I was going to try because Tyro had 2 strikes on him. So it was definitely a situation where I was going to be aggressive. And, it worked out in a way that I didn't really even need to be fast. Anyone would have scored on that one.
Even me.
Yeah, you would have scored on that one for sure.
All right, Tyler Fitzgerald with us. It's quite a week of Giants baseball, and this is a very important part of the season, which we'll talk about in the second All-Star break coming up. But the Willie Mays celebration happened this week, and, of course, Willie passed away. Orlando Cepeda passed away. You wear the numbers on your jersey. What does that mean to you?
It means a ton, and just, to wear Willie's number on my shirt and just know how much Willie meant to this city. And you see his stuff out front of the stadium and the projector, and it's just really awesome that we get to celebrate him. And the timing of it when we were at Rickwood was just, it was almost like Willie was there with us. I know we were all really bummed out and upset we didn't win that game for him, but hopefully we can turn things around for him. And it's a very emotional time for this city and everything around this team. So the only way to really numb that pain is to win games, and hopefully we can do that for Willie. And yeah.
You seem like a spiritual guy, like you take in everything around you and it means something to you.
Yeah, I'm not crazy spiritual, but I do understand how much the history of baseball means to the city, and all the World Series and the guys that come before me. And hopefully one day when my career is all said and done, I can, be remembered like some of these guys. It's not going to be easy to be remembered like Willie, but just, I respect the game, and I respect the history of the game and what everyone before me brought to the table. And, that's what makes the Giants so special, is we have so much history with this team and this organization, and everybody always coming back. And Barry Bonds is down in there hitting with us, and Pat Burrell's our coach, and it just means so much to everybody.
All right. Great to have you on. I'm glad you're getting your shot, and steal some bases. I've been telling you that since I met you, right?
Yes, sir. I got to try and get about 15, 20 of them, so we'll see what happens. I got to get on base, and then we'll try to make some magic happen.
All right. Very good. Young legs this summer. That's what we want. Tyler, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Marty.
Well, I loved it. I'm so glad, Raph, that we saved that. Of course, I talked to him before the All-Star break, but this is a special kid. He's an impact player. He's a nice kid, and he's marketable. And he could be a star in San Francisco with that speed. And he is playing shortstop today against the lefty Kyle Freeland. So I'm very happy to have Tyler Fitzgerald on, and we wish him well today. The Giants lineup, Soler, Matos, Ramos, Chapman, Flores, Estrada, Yastrzemski, Casali, and Fitzgerald in there today. As Mark Simon said, Yastrzemski 7 for 15 with a home run off of Kyle Freeland. So tomorrow it's Hayden Birdsong, and I'm very glad that I said what I said today. I didn't know that Hicks was not going to start tomorrow, and I said put him in the bullpen now. The Giants need these games now, and there's no time to waste here. This bullpen has pitched a lot of innings. So hopefully Logan Webb has got it today. And then Birdsong against Feltner tomorrow. That should be another good one, hopefully, for the Giants. All right. Have a great afternoon. Back with you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's time for Walter Icaboseta and our Giants warm-up right now. KNBR 680, 104.5, the sports leader.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants warm-up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
What's up, Giants fans, and welcome to the Giants warm-up show post All-Star break. I'm your host, Walter Icaboseta, taking you all the way up to first pitch of Game 2 out of the All-Star break. Giants drop a crucial one at the start of the second half, if you will. The final 65 games. Bullpen got blasted yesterday. Kyle Harrison looks pretty good, but the Giants spoil yet again another solid start from their starting rotation. And that's kind of where you look at this Giants team down this final stretch of the season. 64 games remaining, 0-1 in that 65 game stretch so far to lose that first game. It's only one game, but as Marty said on his way out, the Giants need to start winning now. The urgency has to be there, especially when you have these games against the Colorado Rockies to come out of the break. 7 of their first 11 are against those Rockies, and they drop one. I mean, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Obviously, going into Coors Field, it's always difficult. But these are games that the Giants should be winning. I mean, they had their opportunities, and we'll break it down here shortly. But welcome to the Giants warm-up show. Again, I'm your host, Walter Ricardo on KNBR, the sports leader. We are live on YouTube and on Twitch. So jump into the chat. Let me know how you're feeling about this Giants team down this final stretch of the season. 64 games left. They need to go 38-26. That is 12 games above 500, where this is a team that has kind of fluttered around 500 or below 500 much of the season. Haven't won 4 games in a row. It's just, where does this winning streak come from? And you look at the strength of schedule that everyone's been talking about for this Giants team. It is technically, quote unquote, the easiest schedule in all of baseball. But that month of September is daunting. So when you look at all these games that they have coming up, and especially right now, you have to look to today. Don't try to look too far down the line, but today and the rest of this week, I mean, you're going into Los Angeles after this series in Colorado. Giants need to start putting together some wins, and they have the guy to do it today, Logan Webb. But again, the starting pitching wasn't the issue yesterday, and that's kind of where you look at this Giants team, 38-27 to finish out 38-26. They needed to go 38-27. They already got that one loss, but remaining 38-26. To get 85 wins. Does that even get you into the postseason? That's a hefty number. Maybe that gets it done. But is this a team that could potentially get to that with the starting rotation? We'll talk about that as it lines up. Jordan Hicks is no longer starting tomorrow. Is that a signal that Robbie Ray is just right around the corner and maybe he's already transitioning into life in the bullpen? But today, Logan Webb trying to get the Giants on their winning ways for this final stretch of the season. 64 games remaining. They have to go 38-26. And today, I mean, I'll be here as long as I'm needed, because there's been a lot of thunderstorms that have been around Coors Field all morning. So really quick, got to go before my guy dips out of here. Got to go to the KNBR weather desk with my guy Raf Corral. Raf, how's the weather looking right now in Denver? Are we gonna get ball on time? What are you seeing right now?
Hey Wally, Raf here at the Weather Center. Of course, well, it's nice actually right now. It's 84 degrees. It's partly cloudy skies. It's a little humid. The trouble with Denver is you often get the cold air coming down the hills, the mountains, I mean, and it mixes in with the warm air there in the city, and we often get pop-up like thunderstorms. So that's the case today. But looking on the pipeline, we look good to start the game. It's toward the end of the game is when we're going to run into issues. Maybe a little pop-up thunderstorm. We'll see.
All right, well, we'll be hanging out. Looks like, thank you, Raf. It looks like the game will be starting on time. We will give you updates if there is any changes, because this time of year in Denver, I mean, it can get a little weird. So the thunderstorms are in around the area of Coors Field, but as Raf from the Weather Center lets us know, that it sounds like we are going to get some Giants baseball on time. So as we talk about this Giants team, and we have Logan Webb on the mound today, let's talk about last night. I mean, the Giants have to start winning, and a lot of it has been predicated on what this starting pitching can be and what if they can reach their potential. Now, Kyle Harrison starts the first game yesterday, and he went pretty good. He did a really solid outing, 5 innings, scoreless. There, only gave up 1 hit, so he was dominant. And actually, it's a long stretch for Kyle Harrison in scoreless innings the fifth longest scoreless inning streak at Coors Field by a Giants pitcher. That's Kyle Harrison. He extended it 5 more innings yesterday. Was looking really good. Needed 93 pitches to get through 5 innings. So the command was a little bit spotty. Had four walks, but ended up with 6 strikeouts. So Kyle Harrison is progressing. We like to see the progression there, especially going into the pitcher's nightmare of Coors Field. But when you look at the scoreless inning streaks, I mean, you go back all the way to 2004 to 2008. Tyler Walker has the most with 15 and 2/3. Then you go Jonathan Sanchez and Jason Schmidt. Shout out Jason Schmidt in the early 2004 season. 14 innings there, scoreless streak. And then Sergio Romo, 12 and 1/3. And then there you go with 12 solid by Kyle Harrison. So again, the starting pitching hasn't been the issue. There has been a lot of talk of the starting pitching. Oh, when everyone gets healthy and when everyone's back, that this Giants team can reach their full potential. And I do believe that that's part of it. There is a little bit of cohesiveness when you come to see a Giants rotation. And now, there's going to be competitiveness in that Giants rotation. Not saying that this team wasn't competitive and these guys weren't going out there and competing, but now you kind of, the strong pitching can kind of get contagious when you start looking at how this rotation can plan out, because you have Kyle Harrison who went yesterday. Now you follow that up with Logan Webb and Hayden Birdsong. And he's someone that down this final stretch of the year, I am really looking forward to seeing how he can develop. I mean, this guy, this kid is young and growing before our eyes. And he's only 22 years old. So, I mean, it's pretty remarkable to see what he's doing. But I want to see him stick around the rotation. But he will be starting tomorrow in place of Jordan Hicks, who was originally slated. So then that kind of comes to, how does this rotation kind of plan out for the rest of the year? I would assume that we're going to be getting Blake Snell on Monday in Los Angeles. And then you look down the rest of the way, because Kyle Harrison will be starting, since he started yesterday, he will be starting Wednesday if you count out 5 days, he will be starting Wednesday in Los Angeles. Then you have the start today from Logan Webb. He'll be in there for the season or for the season finale against the Los Angeles Dodgers, because they're done with the Dodgers after this in Los Angeles. That will be day game for Logan Webb. But who starts that Tuesday game? That's the big question and speculation, with Jordan Hicks no longer being there for this moment in time. And Robbie Ray pitched yesterday. He threw 78 pitches in Sacramento. Went I think it was 5 1/3 innings. So his pitch count is getting higher, and they're starting to build him up. But has he had his final rehab start? Will he be the guy on Tuesday? I know that would be a day early, because if he started yesterday, then his normal 5th day of rest would be Wednesday. But maybe you bring him in there for Tuesday. You have him go maybe 3-4 innings, and then maybe you piggyback Jordan Hicks on the back end of that. So then also you have the lefty righty situation going in, so where the Dodgers lineup can't necessarily get comfortable. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bob Melvin pieces together this starting rotation. But again, the rotation has not been they're getting healthy, but it hasn't been the Achilles heel for this team. I feel like, when you look at yesterday, you look at all the opportunities, all the missed opportunities for the San Francisco Giants. They just did not score enough runs. You're not going to score. You're not going to win games at Coors Field if you're only putting up 3 runs. You have to score more than that to get a win. That's just how Coors Field plays. And when they had the unfortunate situation, I believe it was in the 7th inning with Brett Wisely with that ground ball down the right field line that hit the bag and then hit the umpire. That's just unfortunate. But they had many other opportunities, and if that ball gets down the line, there's no doubt in my mind that Thairo Estrada doesn't score from first base if it goes all the way to the wall to the right fielder. So that was a missed opportunity. But again, that's kind of out of the control. But then you look at all the other opportunities where the Giants had bases loaded, and they had where they scored their 3rd and final run of the game with Patrick Bailey up to bat. They had runners on second and third, and they were not able to put across more than just the one run. That was their final run that they would end up getting in that third inning. So the Giants, their offense does go through stretches of being anemic. So where does the offense come from? When you look at this Giants lineup today, we'll run through it here, but Jorge Soler, he struck out a lot of times yesterday. So you just hope that he is able to kind of find, he was getting into a little bit of groove right before the All-Star break. But that's just kind of what we've seen from Jorge Soler. So he's hitting leadoff today. And then you have Luis Matos, who's in there today, getting the start in left field, batting second. Then you got Elliot Ramos. Elliot Ramos has been the pretty much biggest consistent part of the Giants offense to date. So Elliot Ramos is batting third in center field. You have Matt Chapman, who is batting cleanup at third base. Wilmer Flores gets the start today. And that's solely, I believe, because of the numbers that he has against Kyle Freeland. And Kyle Freeland is no walk in the park either. I know everyone looks at the ERA and the win-loss record. He's 1-3 and has a 6 ERA, but he has pitched much better than that in his last couple. He's gone at least 6 2/3 in his last 3 starts, and in his last home start at Coors Field, he went 7, only gave up 1 run in that, and that was all the way back the day after July 4th on July 5th. So yeah, Kyle Freeland is going to be no walk in the park either. So when you look at any type of leg up that you can get on the opposing pitcher, you have to go with the matchups. And when you look at the matchups for the Giants and who hits Freeland pretty well, Wilmer Flores is one of those guys. He has 1 homer in 34 at-bats, 3 RBIs, hitting 265. So it's not fantastic, but he has an OPS of 757. But when you look at other guys in the lineup that follow right after Wilmer Flores, you got Thairo Estrada batting 6th, hitting at second base. And his numbers against Freeland is pretty good as well. He has 2 homers in 12 at-bats, has an OPS of 1629 OPS against Kyle Freeland, and a 417 batting average in 12 ABs. Again, 2 home runs in that one. And then Mike Yastrzemski, he hits him pretty good as well. 1 home run and 15 at-bats, and is hitting 467 in those 15 at-bats with a 1233 OPS. And then you round it out with Kirk Casale batting 8th and Tyler Fitzgerald batting 9th. So the Giants offense is definitely going to have to generate some runs. This is the stretch of Giants baseball. This is the stretch of the schedule because, everyone is talking about the easiness of the schedule moving into this final 64 game stretch. These are games that you need to win. And, last night it was, I think, it was just unfortunate. The bullpen has been much better than what we saw last night, and just with the weirdness of Chapman kind of stumbling over his feet and that ball going wide and the game tying run came across the plate, and then you have Tyler Rogers go in there and give up that home run and kind of ice the game for the Rockies. So it was just a bad outing for the Giants, but again, and for the Giants bullpen. But again, when you look at this team, you look at 38 wins is what will get you 85. Is this team capable of getting that? I want to hear your thoughts. 808 KNBR, that it's 415-885-6277. Are the Giants capable of winning 38 games down this final stretch? And we'll go ahead and look at the schedule on the other side. But this is the part of the schedule where you have the Rockies, you have the Dodgers, who are a little, walking wounded right now. You can take advantage of this team, and the starting rotation is going to get healthier, but it's not only on the starting rotation. I know that's a big part of it. A big part of Giants baseball is it all starts with the starting rotation, but the offense, if you're going to put out 3 runs a game in Coors Field, you're not going to win ball games. You're not going to win. So this Giants offense definitely needs to step it up, and we have to see more runs. We have to see more production. And with Tyler Fitzgerald being in there, I would love to see some movement on the base paths as well. So we'll continue to talk about the Giants in Colorado. Game 2, Logan Webb is on the mound, and go ahead and hit me up on YouTube or give me a call or text in at 415-808-5627. That's 415-808-KNBR. 38 games. That is the number. Can the Giants do it down this final stretch? And we will continue to talk on the other side. You're listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
First pitch, he swings, grounds it off of first base, and then it hits the umpire. My goodness, picking it up off the carom is the first baseman Tolia, and sliding to the bag, he's in time to get Wisely. Unbelievable. If that ball doesn't hit Chris Conroy, the first base umpire, it's down the line in the corner, and maybe 2 runs score. And instead, Wisely is out.
It adds up, you know. I mean, the guy's trying to argue his way that he didn't get hit by a pitch, and then that's 2 runs. You'd like to think that there's some judgment involved, but there's nothing you can do about it. So, yeah, very frustrating. But we didn't add on, and we gave up too many runs at the end.
Welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. Brett Wisely. Again, you watch this game long enough, you will definitely see something that you haven't seen before. I've never seen that. The ball down the line hits the bag and then hits the umpire, and hitter doesn't even get on base. That's just worst case scenario. I mean, yeah, maybe it takes away an extra bag or 2, but you don't even reach base with that. Where it could have been a 2-run double for Brett Wisely. Just the missed opportunities for the Giants just came with frequency yesterday. So welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. We try to get ready for the Giants and Rockies game 2. Logan Webb is on the mound, but again, this Giants team needed to come out of the gate swinging, and they drop a dud in their first game. Again, it's only one game. But these are games that the Giants need to win. So again, 415-808 KNBR. Can the Giants get to 38 wins in this final stretch? And that would get you 85 wins for the season. That is asking them to play 12 games above 500, something that the Giants have not been able to do with consistency. Be over 500, not 12 games, but just be over 500. Haven't been able to do that with consistency to this point in the season. So we're going to go out to the phone lines. Kyle, is he still there? Pugsley in Sacramento? All right, let's go out to Pugsley. What's up, Pugsley? How you doing today, man?
You got me?
I got you. What's up, man? Welcome to the Giants warm-up.
I'm just checking in. It's amazing where the Giants are right now with all the injuries they've had with the pitching problem. But my biggest problem is, there's everybody on this team is batting under 250 or lower, 220. There's maybe 2 or 3 guys batting over 250. That means it's less than 25% of the time they're doing anything. Maybe a walk here or hit batsman, but they're not an analytic team. They can't sit back like the Yankees or the Phillies and wait for the home runs to happen. There are too many one-and-dones. Leadoff guy gets on, it's stranded. Every game, there's 2 or 3 innings. It's like that, where if, bunting is a lost art, but on a team like this, you need to make adjustments. And this team is not going to win playing the way, just waiting for that 3-run homer. And this, first guy getting on base or a double leading off, and then no attempt to move him over, just swing away and hope. That's not baseball. That's, you got to make adjustments in all sports, and the Giants are not making any adjustments for the roster they have. And Soler struck out 3 times yesterday. What is he doing leading off? Why isn't Wisely leading off? I just don't understand. You got to make adjustments when your team just can't do what the other winning teams are doing. This pitching staff that's getting getting better, they're going to have to pitch no hitters, 1 hitters, 2 hitters, because the Giants just don't have enough offense. And I know it's analytics. Forget all that analytics. The other day they were talking on the KNBR show. I don't even want to say his name because he kind of bothers me. Batting average doesn't matter. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I'm old school, yes. Yes, I'm old school. But batting average does matter. You got to look at the Dodgers with Freeman and Ohtani. Those guys are all 300. And they're leading the Western Division. It's just make adjustments. Have a bunting press. Bunting's not that hard if you work at it, especially a professional baseball player. Anyway, I vented,
All right.
and that's where I'm at
Pugsley,
now.
I appreciate the call, man, and call in anytime. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you really got into the Giants. I mean, this offense and what you said there with everyone is stressed so much about this Giants pitching staff that this is the key to the success. And I think a lot of that has to go back to the World Series championships and how they won those championships. It was on the backs of probably the best rotation that the Giants has had in quite some time. And maybe that's only because they won the World Series. But I mean, you look at the formula, and I think that's what we're getting to is the formula for the Giants. We know that pitching will keep them in the game, but if you have guys go out there and they need to go 7-8 no hit innings or just no runs at all, I mean, that's just not a realistic way to go about things. Now, I do believe that this Giants team, they need to find ways to score runs, and I think that they're still trying to figure that out. That's why at this point, everyone talks about the health of this Giants team, and they haven't been healthy to this point. But when they get healthy and when they do this, and when we're all on the same page, I've heard it time and time again. Is there a situation? Is there a time that this team can ever reach that point, that they could ever reach their potential, or is this just it? Because before the All-Star break, you had Blake Snell coming in with those 2 outings and just looking phenomenal. He looked great, and I look forward to his second half. Don't get me wrong. I look forward to this starting rotation down the line. I think like many Giants fans, but when you see that and you're like, oh, okay, you see a glimpse of what this team can be, and then you have Logan Webb go out and have his worst outing of the season. And it's just, I'm not throwing shade at Logan Webb. I think that he's going to pitch phenomenal tonight against the Colorado Rockies, where it's a team that he has dominance. Over his last 3 games pitched against the Rockies, he's 2-0 with a 0.39 ERA, only 1 earned run in 23 innings pitched. So he does have a little bit of a higher ERA when you look at his career stats at Coors Field, but overall against the Rockies, he's 8-2 with a 3.05 ERA. Right. But the thing, just going back to with Blake Snell and then following that up with Logan Webb's worst start, it's just, there hasn't been a point, and will there ever be a point to where this team is hitting on all cylinders, to where you have starter after starter after starter being effective, or you have the lineup churning over runs with regularity? Is that just something that will never happen in this season? When you go down the line, down this stretch of games, 64 games left, they have to win 38. And there just hasn't been a level of consistency with this Giants team to where can they do that? Is you're asking them to do something that they haven't done to date, and is that realistic? So we have more callers on the line, 415-808-KNBR. We have Nick in Sonoma. Nick wants to check in on the Giants warm-up show. What's up, Nick? How you doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. What's up? What's on your mind, Nick?
So I really like this Giants team. I understand the hysteria, but I think it's a very deep roster. We have guys up and down the lineup, who can produce quality at bats, who are impact hitters. Obviously, there's a lot of depth in the rotation and more reinforcement coming. I think if there's any moves to be made, it's going to be, cleaning up some of the more ragged pieces in the bullpen and getting some really strong arms to fortify, like the middle back end. So that if the Giants do make the playoffs, we're actually in a position to go pretty deep. Because as you know, a playoff roster is built a lot different than a regular season one. And I trust the sample size. I really do. I trust that this team is better than they are. I trust that we haven't really found our stride. But I also trust that we will. And one of the beautiful things about baseball is, the sample size is so large that the truth is revealed over time. And I'm willing to be wrong here, but I expect not to be. I just think that this is a good ball club that just needs a little more time to harmonize. There's a lot of new pieces that came in. It can take some time, to get the rhythm and the flow and the expectation of winning kind of locked in. But I don't think we're far away from it, and I don't think panic is really necessary.
Yeah, for sure, Nick. And really quick, I just want to just hang tight on the line there, Kyle. Keep him there. I just want to ask because 38 games for the rest of this, or for 38 wins for the rest of this stretch. You talk about the cohesiveness of the Giants that they're going to start clicking, and yeah, it's a lot of new pieces, right? It's a lot of new pieces that are on this team that need to gel, and it just hasn't happened yet. But I just want to ask you, like, to win 38 games or to make the playoffs, the Giants do so if what would you fill in after that? The Giants do so if
we have to get one game over 500. That's the tipping point. If we get a game over 500, I don't see us turning back. Obviously, if we don't, not making the playoffs, but that to me is the tipping point.
All right, perfect, Nick. I really appreciate the call, man, and call in anytime. And yeah, great insight from Nick. I mean, when you look at this Giants team, it's hard to see them clicking down the stretch. I mean, I want to be wrong. I want to see this team go into the playoffs because Nick did talk about the construction of playoff rosters. This Giants team with the pitching staff could be a team that you do not want to see, even if they are the last team to get into that wild card. But when you look at that wild card, I mean, it's all jumbled up. And Kyle, I got to get you a read here, so let me pull it up really quick. We'll do a quick standings update while we're on this topic of the playoffs and where the Giants currently stand in the wild card. So standings update sponsored by Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. And when you look at all of these teams that are in the mix right now, and this might benefit the Giants, but no one's really running away with it. The only teams that won yesterday, outside of the Braves, who are at that number one wild card spot, they've won 2 in a row. The only other teams that won was Arizona and Pittsburgh. That was really the only teams that won, and the Giants are currently 2.5 away from Pittsburgh and 3 away from Arizona. So that just kind of gives you a look at what this wild card race will be. The Giants have currently the Reds in front of them. They have the Padres, who they all play these teams down the stretch. Pittsburgh, they no longer play, but Pittsburgh Pirates are ahead of them as well. Diamondbacks, they have the Diamondbacks for a lot of games in September, and they have the Mets, who are holding on to that final wild card spot. They don't play the Mets anymore this season. And then, I mean, hey, it could come down to that final weekend in September with the Cardinals coming to San Francisco because they are currently holding on to that number 2 spot in the wild card race. Negative 39 run differential for the Cardinals. I don't know if they're going to hold on to a playoff spot, but that is the wild card race for the San Francisco Giants. A lot has to go their way. But again, I've asked the question. 808 KNBR is the number. That's 415-808-5627. Can the Giants win 38 games? And the Giants make the playoffs if? That's what I'm asking right now. So go ahead and give me a call on the line, and we'll take one quick break. I see Alex in Sacramento. So, Alex, we will continue this conversation on the other side, and we'll give you a preview of the game because we've been talking a lot about the Giants preview for the final 65 games. We'll talk about this one tonight. You have Logan Webb on the mound, your guy, your ace. Giants, in my opinion, the MVP. If you don't want to give an MVP to a guy that goes out every 5th day, but Logan Webb just does so much for this team, for the pitching staff in general. And he, you know what to expect when he goes out there. He's going to give you at least six. Watch, I just jinxed it. I'm going to go ahead and knock on wood right now, but we will continue the conversation on the other side. Logan Webb tries to get the Giants back in their winning ways and try to take advantage of this easy schedule, quote unquote, easy schedule. And it continues with the Rockies. But again, Giants get into the playoffs. if. 415-808-5627. That's 415-808-KNBR. We will discuss on the other side. You're listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Now, back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. I am your host, Walter Icaboseta, taking you all the way up to 4:10 for the Giants official pregame show, with first pitch coming at 5:10. Hopefully the rain stays away from Coors Field, but we will talk to Joe Rizzo. We'll get the full weather report from Coors Field in just about 35 minutes or so. So let's go out to the line. We are talking about the Giants and your outlook for this final stretch of the season. 64 games remain. They lose last night against the Colorado Rockies. The bullpen implodes, spoils a good start with Kyle Harrison on the bump, but you have your guy. That's who you want on the mound to stop the bleeding. That is Logan Webb. He has been lights out all season long. Forget about that start going into the All-Star break. Forget about his All-Star performance. It doesn't matter. But Logan Webb is the epitome of consistency for this Giants rotation, and hopefully this is a string of starts following Kyle Harrison, going into Logan Webb, going into Birdsong, and then potentially Blake Snell on Monday and maybe Robbie Ray on Tuesday. We'll have to see, but let's just get these string of Giants starts going to get this final stretch going. So let's go out to the phone lines. We have Alex in Sacramento. Alex, what's up, man? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How you doing today?
Hey, doing good. Just enjoying a little heat out here. How about you guys?
I am doing good. It's a little hot. You in Sacramento? It's like 112 out there, isn't it?
Just about by the river, a little cooler, but yeah.
Dude, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated for sure. It's hot in the East Bay over here. It's triple digits as well. But yeah, dude, stay hydrated. What's up, Alex?
Hey, appreciate it. I just want to relate the Giants season back to a little bit of music. Went and saw the Stones the other night in Santa Clara.
Nice. Did you see Mike Silver out there? You partnered with Mike Silver?
I did not, but his show was solid.
Oh,
I liked his review.
Perfect. All right, what's up?
Just wanted to mention, Giants got a little work to do, but I think chipping away is the main thing. Just a song by CCR, Keep on Chugling. If we could just keep a little bit of forward momentum going. We got a few teams ahead, but they're not making that much ground where it's unrealistic at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Alex. I mean, looking at this Giants team and no one's really running away. You hit it there. No one's running away with it in the wild card, other than the Braves, who are in that first spot in the wild card race right now. But they're not running away with it necessarily. But they're 5 games up on the Cardinals. But yeah, you have everyone kind of jumbled in that pack where you have the second place wild card spot from the, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 spots down. It's all within 3.5 games, 4 games at this point. So the Giants just need to get going. What do you think, if Alex is still there, what do you think gets this Giants team rolling? Are you solely putting all your eggs in the basket of the pitching staff, or are you hoping that someone, maybe Marco Luciano, even gets a call up at some point to jumpstart this offense? What would you suggest?
I mean, definitely a little bit of the younger guys. That would help a lot. But our starting pitching, I think, is where we need to kind of lean on. Logan Webb today, he'll give us a strong effort. And if we can kind of get a little momentum from that point forward, it'd be just really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. It does all start with the starting rotation, but this offense needs to help them out. I mean, it doesn't matter. And Alex, thank you so much for the call. And remember to stay hydrated, man. Stay hydrated, stay out of the sun if you can. But when you look at this Giants team, the pitching, it all starts with the pitching. But you're not going to get anywhere if your offense is only giving you 3 runs. because then you are asking your pitching staff to go out there and be electric, everyone to be an all-star, everyone to be a Cy Young caliber pitcher down the stretch, and that's just unrealistic. I mean, yeah, you do have a runner-up in the Cy Young with Logan Webb. You do have a former Cy Young Award winner in Robbie Ray coming back at some point. Hopefully it's in LA this week. And then you have Blake Snell, who is a two-time Cy Young Award winner and won his Cy Young last year. So, I mean, yeah, they do have guys that have the talent, but to go out there and be perfect through 6-7 innings and not allow more than 2 runs, I mean, that is a tall task for this Giants pitching rotation. But when you look at this team going down the stretch, and Alex pretty much laid it out, was that there's no one running away with the wild card. So does that mean that this Giants team, it can be better, or is there kind of like a false sense of being competitive when you look at the wild card standings, because no one's really good, no one's really excelling, but this Giants team with a starting rotation that is healthy down the stretch, because it hasn't happened. They haven't had a starting rotation. So, the bullpen, shout out to the bullpen in not last night, but for the first half, in kind of treading water and not letting this get away from this Giants team. But when you look at the wild card and when you look at the schedule for the Giants moving forward, I mean, we talked about them playing the Rockies in 7 of their first 11 games out of the break, and then they have the 4 games against the Dodgers in LA, and that is when you can potentially have Blake Snell, you can potentially have Robbie Ray, Kyle Harrison, Logan Webb through those 4 games. And then you look at right before the deadline, they play Oakland. And then the month of August is pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but it's easy when you look at it, because they go to Cincinnati. That's going to be a crucial series for them to open up the month of August. Then they have 4 against the Nationals. You figure they should win those. Then you have Detroit coming to San Francisco. You have 4 against Atlanta. That's going to be a huge series. Then you got Oakland. You have the White Sox. You have Seattle at the end of the month. Milwaukee. That'll be a big series in Milwaukee against the Brewers. And then you have the Marlins coming in at the end of August. But then when the calendar flips over and you look at what this Giants team has to endure in September, that's why this stretch of games before the trade deadline and the games after the trade deadline, mainly the month of August, are crucial to where the Giants need to get a little bit of a buffer, because when you look at the month of September, their schedule has been ranked as the easiest out of the break, but there's nothing easy about the month of September. When you look at, they go Arizona and they have the Padres and they have Milwaukee, and then they have that grueling road trip at the end of the season with 3 at Baltimore, 3 in Kansas City, and 3 at Arizona. That is all playoff teams. All playoff teams are all playoff hopefuls at this point when you're looking at the schedule. So the month of September is going to be crucial. The Giants need to start winning now, but they do have Logan Webb on the mound today to try to get it done, and try to get this Giants team 1 win away from winning a consecutive series, because they won that series going into the All-Star break against the Minnesota Twins. All you have to do is win series. That's how you get to the postseason, and that's how you can potentially get to 38 wins out of this final stretch of the season. Let's go out to the phone lines if John is still out there in Elk Grove. John, welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How are you doing today, man?
Good. I've been a Giants fan since 1958, and I've seen a lot of things, and my opinion may not be valid only to me. But I think Farhan's in a position where he has to make the playoffs with all the money they've spent. And I don't think that's really the good decision. I think they're not going anywhere. They're not going to go deep into the playoffs. And what are they going to have happen? You're going to have the 3 guys with options leave. Duvall, they could get rid of him too. I'd wait to the trade deadline, and all those guys with options would be gone for good young players.
So you trade, just so I'm understanding, John, so you trade Blake Snell, you trade Matt Chapman, and possibly move on from Duvall? I mean, which guys would you offer in trades? I mean, it sounds like a full breakdown.
And don't forget Conforto, because he's got an option.
Conforto.
They're not going to stay here. What big name players have the Giants signed that want to play here? Soler, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, and thanks for the call, John. Really appreciate it. When you look at the Giants signings, it is a little bit of a bummer that they can't get guys to stick around. But when you look at I don't know if necessarily if you look at Matt Chapman and you look at Blake Snell, I don't know if necessarily if they're going to opt out. I mean, would Blake Snell demand more on the open market than he's going to be making next year? I think next year he's making 30 mil. So, I mean, is he going to generate more buzz, especially with being another year older, which has been kind of that's why he fell to the Giants, was that people didn't want to give him the long-term extension. But he's another year older, coming off of a lot of injuries, hasn't had a good season to this point. I do think that he's going to have a much better second half, but I don't know if the number amounts or the dollar amount for his annual salary on the open market, I don't know if that's going to warrant more money at this point. So he may be opting in, and everything that you've heard about Matt Chapman and his relationship with Bob Melvin, I do think that is real, and I think that plays a role. And Matt Chapman is a leader on this team. I find it hard to believe that he would end up leaving this team as well. So I don't necessarily think that those guys are going to be leaving at the end of this season. I think they're going to be sticking around. So then now you look at, well, what pieces will be here next year? How can you build on this season going forward? And you have that infusion of youth that you have with Birdsong and maybe Carson Wisenhunt at some point when he's able to come into the fold for the Giants rotation. And you look at other guys like Reggie Crawford, who's in Sacramento, who can maybe come in and be in the rotation, or if they end up making him a high leverage bullpen arm. Is Duvall part of the future plans? Because these are all questions that need to be answered come trade deadline. Because this Giants team, how do you move forward from this season? It's going to be really interesting to follow. We do have more calls on the line. I believe we have Matt in Millbrae. Let's go ahead and go out to Matt in Millbrae. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show.
Hi, Walter. Glad you're on the air. I'm a big fan of yours. You asked for
appreciate it.
Recommendations on what could ignite this team, what could really give them a spark so they could win 82, 83, or 4 games. And I'm thinking if they trade for Mauricio Dubon, that could do it. He loves the Giants. He was heartbroken to be traded away. Unlike a lot of the trade candidates that the Giants are supposedly should be looking at, he's not old, and he doesn't have a history of injuries. The Giants have been making a lot of acquisitions for older players with a history of injuries, but Dubon is young, he's fresh, he's healthy. He couldn't wait to get back, and furthermore, he's not overpriced. People really don't appreciate what a great player he is, and that included the Giants when they traded him away. He did fabulous at Houston. So the Giants have enough capital that they might be able to trade something without giving away the store, so to speak. So I'd really like to see him make an effort to get Mauricio Dubon. And finally, when were the Giants the most exciting this year? When were they in full ignition mode? Hey, it was right around May 11th when Luciano and some of the other fellas started getting really hot. I'd like to put that in the mix.
All right, Matt, thank you for the call. Really appreciate it. I don't know if I like Mauricio Dubon. I don't think that he turns into the Mauricio Dubon that we see today if he stays on the Giants. Good for him. He's performing at a high level, goes out and wins a Gold Glove as a utility player for the Houston Astros. I mean, good for him. I just don't know if that's something, if you want to go back and bring guys back like that. So I think you got to look in a different direction. When you look at, you talked about the youth, and you did bring up, right after Jung-Hoo Lee got hurt on Mother's Day, you saw this infusion of youth with Luis Matos, who was batting second today. You saw Elliot Ramos, and he turned into an all-star. You look at Hayden Burnsong, and he might be further along than anticipated, and he may be sticking around this rotation for a longer time beyond this final stretch, and this could be the start of his Giants tenure. I'm really high on Hayden Birdsong. So you start seeing all these guys, the infusion of youth. You get excited. But I don't know if Mauricio Dupont is someone that you'd go out and get and bring back. I know he is he is younger, but I don't know if that's necessarily a solution there. I think you have to look at what the Giants have in the farm system. And I would really like to see, I know that they're trying to figure things out with Marco Luciano and see where he can play, because, quite frankly, he's not a shortstop. And unfortunately, there wasn't a plan B. They're trying to figure that out right now. Maybe he can end up being a second baseman, or maybe they can transfer him over to shortstop, or not shortstop, first base. Maybe there's I want to see his bat is the point. I want to see his bat in the lineup. And when you start looking at the Giants in AAA, I mean, you talk about Carson Wisenhunt, you look at Reggie Crawford. I mean, that's the next crop of guys that can be difference makers, but you can't build a winning team on just solely young guys. You have to have veteran presence. You have to have guys that have been there and done that. I think that's why a lot of conversation has been around bringing in some veteran presence, or some guys that have been in the major leagues that have experience, that have upside, and that are a little bit younger. That's why a lot of people have been talking about Bo Bichette, but I believe that he just landed on the IL, so he's not coming over. But do you go look at someone that is a little younger, that has been in Major League Baseball, and go look at the Marlins? Do you hint at maybe trying to go get a Jazz Chisholm? Is he someone that the Giants can bring in here and make a difference? Because yes, I get that. You want to make a deal, you want to make some trades and shake things up for this Giants team, but also you got to be realistic in that, what is this team and what can they be this year moving forward? So we will continue to talk more on the other side. Logan Webb is on the mound, and we'll give you the lineup one more time, just so that you know how the Giants are going to be attacking Kyle Freeland, who's on the mound for the Colorado Rockies. We'll take one last break and come back and get you ready for Giants Rockies. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Giants fans. First pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. We're wrapping up this pregame before the pregame, official pregame starting in just a couple of minutes, few minutes here. So let's go ahead and give you a quick read. Key player of the week, sponsored by Key Point Credit Union, Next Generation Neighborhood Banking. This time we're going to do key players because there wasn't necessarily games. I guess I could have given it to Kyle Harrison, who went 5 shutout innings, 1 hit last night. But let's go key players of the week with Elliot Ramos and your starter today for the Giants. Try to get them on the winning path. Logan Webb, how they made the All-Star game this week. Elliot Ramos and Logan Webb, those are your key players of the week, your Giants leaders moving forward, and that's what the Giants are going to have to need today out of their starter, Logan Webb, who is on the mound, taking on Kyle Freeland, the lefty, who is not having a great season, I guess, if you look at the ERA, but his last 3 starts have been pretty good. His shortest outing in the last 3 starts, 6 2/3, and his last start at home, 7 innings pitched. So Giants are going to have their hands full on that one. Let's run through this Giants lineup really quick and get you ready for the Giants and Rockies. You have Jorge Soler leading off, Luis Matos in left field batting second, Elliot Ramos in center field, Matt Chapman at third base batting cleanup, Wilmer Flores at first base batting fifth, Tyro Estrada batting sixth at second base, Mike Yastrzemski in right field batting seventh, Kurt Casale batting eighth at catcher, and Tyler Fitzgerald at shortstop batting ninth. Giants and Rockies coming up next. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.